got an extra sheet of paper. I just need something to scribble on. I get nervous. I have to write. And it usually just is a copy of the agenda, but I didn't get one. I didn't stop that off to get one, so.
Make sure you start your download again.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. It should be good. It'll run and send for you, just long as you press that one or 2%.
Let's call the presentation portion of the Anderson County Commission meeting to order. Looks like we've got a presentation requested by Laura Clark for 4-H, so want to go ahead and get that started.
Thank you for the opportunity to be with you. My name is Donna Carter. I am the County 4-H Extension Agent for Anderson County. Had the privilege of working with about 1,700 students between 4th grade and 12th grade here in the county. Public speaking is one of our flagship 4-H programs each year, and this year we had 802 students who participated in the public speaking program. Of those students, each classroom had students who advanced to the county speech contest, where 61 youth competed for the honors of representing their classmates at regional and multi-county contest. Of those 61 students, 8 will move on, and I have 2 that will be doing their speeches for you today. I'd like to begin with our 11th grade winner, Miss Bonnie Chandler.
Agility is a sport done with dogs that tests their obedience and agility on a course. I like to call it Ninja Warrior for dogs. They jump jumps, they walk planks, and overcome all sorts of obstacles that most dogs would shy from. Of course, when my county dog project group started taking agility classes, we sure didn't look like warriors. We had to start with the small things and work our way up. I had to be patient with my puppy as he learned. I also had to be consistent with my commands. But the most important step was rewarding his good behavior. Does this method sound familiar to any of you? I soon found that the method I was using on my puppy was the equivalent of what 4-H was doing to me. The 4-H leaders in my life have been patient with me so I could learn by doing. 4-H has taught me to be consistent in my work, to make the best better. And most of all, 4-H gave me the chance to try again and builds my confidence by rewarding hard work. The first thing I discovered as I worked with my puppy was patience. Here was a dog with great potential, but he had to learn everything by experiencing it. When I wanted to introduce a new trick, I would try to catch him naturally offering that behavior and reward him for it. Once he mastered the simple version, I would advance. Just as we start a puppy small to move toward more advanced tricks, 4-H starts small and gives us the opportunity to find what we are truly interested in. It took me doing the Market Hog project before I realized that it didn't really work for me. Since I live in the city, my mom and my 4-H agent encouraged me to try something more realistic. In my case, that was the companion animal project. This simple move opened a flood of opportunities for me. Through a short chain of events, we started the dog project group, and now we are training on an agility field. Because of the patience shown to me, I was able to step outside of my comfort zone and start something new. Consistency is very important when training a puppy for agility. By always using the same word for a command, we can start simple and then increase complexity. We must remain consistent while our technique becomes more advanced. For example, I began holding a treat over my puppy's head and saying, "Stay," while I took a small step back. Once he mastered the simple version, I advanced to holding a treat in front of him and taking 2 to 3 steps back. Just as we start a puppy small to move toward more advanced tricks, 4-H starts small, then opens up more and more opportunities. When I did my first portfolio, I did my best. I made it to Roundup by the skin of my teeth, but hardly competed at the state competition. The next year, I made my best better. I worked consistently to fill in all the spaces. I made it to Roundup again, but this time I was prepared. I had advanced my knowledge and was ready for the interview. Of course, none of this training would be effective if we didn't reward good behavior. Through positive encouragement and lots of treats, we can build our dog's confidence one trick at a time. By always rewarding small things like eye contact, we can keep our dogs eager to continue. Likewise, 4-H finds every opportunity to reward our small accomplishments with a trophy or a ribbon. Through positive encouragement, 4-H built my confidence, one project at a time. I have made many mistakes since I've started 4-H, but because of all the encouragement I receive, I return improved, experienced, and confident. The reward of others' approval and of trophies gained through the years tell me you can do this. Albert Einstein said, "A person who never made a mistake never tried anything new." My puppy doesn't get everything right the first time. But if I'm patient with him, he will learn by doing. Consistent practice and hard work puts him well on his way to making his best better. If I constantly reward and praise his good behavior, he is eager to continue and confident to learn more. This method works so well, 4-H applies it to the many youth who get involved. I've experienced this firsthand. I definitely don't get everything right the first time, but 4-H gave me the chance to try again. It's taught me to be consistent in my work to achieve excellence, and 4-H has gifted me with the gift of confidence so that I could overcome the obstacles that I face over the course of my life. Thank you.
Our next presenter is a 5th grade student, Mr. Kenny Trace Humphrey.
Are you a big fan of social media? If so, then you know what it means to eat, sleep, check, repeat. Over the past few years, it has become almost second nature for us as we scroll, like, comment, and share. We never really think about it too much, but a social media platform can be a dangerous place to be. Today I'll inform you of the reasons why, as well as share some tips on how to stop its associated dangers. First, there is a huge concern when it comes to mental health, addiction, and social media. This year alone, the average social media user spends 2.5 hours on platforms daily. The more we are on them, the more adverse of an effect it has been shown to have on our mental health, because we see so many depressing or sad things that we otherwise normally wouldn't see. We also compare ourselves to others and their experiences, and it makes us feel like we are left out or not doing enough with our lives. Many people are also bullied on social media, which can make them feel even worse. Other dangers of social media relate to privacy and vulnerability. In a normal world, we tend to practice certain rules when it comes to sharing personal info. We are not expected to give away our full name, birth date, relationship status, or anything else that we deem private. On social media, though, it is the complete opposite. Not only do we have to share certain info to set up accounts, but we are also inspired to do so by looking at all the other picture-perfect posts we see. This creates the perfect opportunity for scammers and other criminals. Some youth and others have even been kidnapped and or killed as a result of sharing too much information online. Knowing these things, how can we actually stay safe on social media? First, never disclose any sensitive personal data, like your name, your location, your phone, or social security number. Second, try to limit your screen time to 1 hour or less per day. Substitute this with other things you like to do that are not online. Never compare yourself to others and what they post. Third, never trust anybody you meet online or talk to anyone you or your parents don't know. The risks are just too great that you could be scammed, hurt, or even worse. If we all work together and practice these skills, we can make social media a safer place in which to be.
I can't say how proud I am of all of these kids, and the teachers who work with them are just fantastic, and I can't say thank you for all of them and thank you for allowing us to be here.
Commissioner Scott?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a request that, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Donna. If you would get with Dr. Parrott and/or the television station for both of them to do some sort of an advert or a PSA, if you will, that was outstanding. And I mean, I commend the both of them. That was just outstanding, and it should be put out on the public waves. I'm just blown away. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Okay. If not, let's move on to the public hearing for the rezoning of property located at 1127 Oliver Springs Highway in Clinton, parcel 216, Anderson County Tax Map 087. And if anyone wants to come up and speak for or against the rezoning, we'll have the public hearing now. Just keep your remarks to 3 minutes and address the board. And just keep in mind that this is just the public hearing portion, so we won't actually take action at this point. That'll be in the regular meeting during the report. So if anybody wants to speak on 1127, Danny, do you have any updates or anything?
I mean, from my view, the only thing that slowed down giving the approval for the rezoning was us wanting to wait until the amendment passed into how we give public notification. So the amendment passed in the last county commission meeting. Since that time, we have given all the proper notification through certified mail, Anderson County Television, website. All of that stuff has been done since the last county commission meeting. So I think anything else we'd have to say about it's redundant, but I think that was the main concern.
Anyone, the audience, want to speak? Just give us your name and address there, please.
Yeah. I'm Ann Jordan, and Ann Clausing Jordan, actually, and I say the Clausing part because it turns out that Steve Mullins, who's one of the new owners of the property, and I actually went to Oak Ridge High School together. I won't say how many years ago, but it was a few. And anyway, if you could just pass these around while I'm introducing the rest of this. Want to thank you for continuing the public hearing tonight, and particularly want to thank Commissioner White because he set up a meeting last week between the new owners of the property, Steve and Ashley, and, oh, sorry, thank you, and a representative of the community on Bacon Springs and Ford Road who are a little bit affected by this. And I think you'll be able to see a little bit better what I'm talking about when you get the maps here. Let me take I'll I'll do something maybe you're not supposed to do as a speaker, but I'll take all the suspense away right at the beginning. The residents do not object to the rezoning at all, so don't worry that I'm going to say anything that's going to be in any way opposing the rezoning. However, we do have a couple of questions, and those will be evident as we go along. I talked a little bit to Steve and Ashley before the meeting tonight. We know that they have been longstanding members of the Marlowe community, and they have done wonderful things with the properties that they've worked with in the past. And one of the things that happened at the meeting last week, I think Commissioner White was there, actually you were there, I think, for the whole meeting. Two key pieces of information changed hands. One of them was that the new owners don't have a specific use in mind for the property yet. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but what I think we learned was that they know there's a rumor that the property is going to be used for storage units out there, and that's a possibility, but it's not nailed down that that's what it's going to be yet. The other piece of information that changed hands was that the residents didn't oppose the rezoning. So we were able to take that pressure off of them, I think, at that point. In fact, the residents are very glad that they have already removed the old building, abandoned building that was kind of an eyesore on that corner for many, many years. And the residents are looking forward to what may come next on that property. And so we just kind of want to step back from the actual personal things or whatever's going to happen immediately now that the Mullins own it, and talk about the fact that what's really going to happen is we're going to rezone the property from residential to commercial. And so the things that I wanted to mention just have to do with the fact that when you have a commercial property in an area that has previously been predominantly residential and agricultural, as you can see from that first map, there are a couple of things that you might want to think about, and we're particularly familiar with them because we've lived there for a while. And the first one of those things is access. And you can see on that first map with all the yellow on it that the property is located at the corner of Oliver Springs Highway, which many of you know, Highway 61. It's a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. There's also right at that corner where it is, it's just, you just see a big yellow blob on your map. Excuse me. But it's actually the Marlowe Community Park, the Marlowe Convenience Center, Grand Oaks Elementary School, and the Marlowe Volunteer Fire Department are all kind of co-located there. So there's already a lot of stuff that's not residential on there, but it's not commercial. It's just owned by the county. Anyway, you can see again from that second map there that Ford Road, the property address is actually 105 Ford Road, and you can see that the entrance to the property as it exists now is directly across from the park and almost directly across from the convenience center. And don't know whether in the future, with the current owners or with the future owner, they might want to have the access be off of Oliver Springs Highway. If so, there's partially a turn lane there. There'd be some questions about whether that would be adequate for commercial use of the property in the future, or if the entrance stays off of Ford Road, probably some thought needs to be given to what's going to happen with the convenience center traffic, because some of us who use that convenience center every day know that the traffic already backs up sometimes almost all the way to Oliver Springs Highway. It's a narrow road, no shoulders, and if it did end up having to have another entrance be active, because right now that entrance has been closed off, the one to 105 Ford Road. That building's been abandoned. There's been no traffic associated with that. We would hope that that would change if it was going to be commercial, that there actually would be some traffic. So that's one thing to think about. The second thing to think about is lighting. It's a pretty dark area right now. None of the facilities that are there have a lot of nighttime lighting, and so the residents, not my property, I don't look right down on it, but some of the other residents are concerned that if it's a property that's uplit, particularly if it's a property that's active 24 hours a day and uplit, will have light shining into their residences and their faces. And so the question is, can there be something attached to the rezoning that request that the light be down, forced down. I think technology helps us there, that there probably are options, but I don't know if it can be attached to the actual rezoning process or not. The third item is security. I'm a little bit uncomfortable putting that on this list, but the Anderson County Sheriff's Department and the Anderson County Solid Waste Department know Bacon Springs Road very well because it is a place where a lot of drug deals like to happen, and it is also a place where people like to bring their refrigerators and mattresses that they don't want to take all the way to the dump and dump them over the edge there. So there's a potential, I would assume, that whatever property, whatever the current owners want to do with it will be a very nice thing, and it's not going to have an adverse impact on that at all. Down the road, we want to think about who would be attracted if the property changes hand and the usage changes.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. I'm sorry to cut you off. I just
Oh,
want
I'm
to make
sorry.
sure everybody else has time before the
Right.
meeting starts. But can
Anyway.
can you give us your address?
I'm
real
sorry,
quick?
350 Bacon Springs, and I'm pretty much finished. Those are the three things that I would like you to consider.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience want to speak on the rezoning?
I want to say one more thing, if it's okay. I think to speak to what Ms. Jordan is saying and to bring a level of comfort to everybody that is concerned about this, I mean, there will be nothing that goes there that won't go before the planning commission. I mean, you build something commercial, that site plan has to go before our planning commission. So, that they're not going to agree to something that is going to be detrimental to that area. And of course, our zoning resolution deals with light too, and it being a nuisance, it addresses that. So, if that's an issue, it's something we could address too. But I think we need to keep that in mind about the site plan before the planning commission.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any comments? Jerry White, or Commissioner White, did you want to
No, I'm.
add anything?
I think everything's been said that we need, I think everything's a go. All it needs now is to be approved at our commission meeting.
Commissioner Greasy?
Yeah, I was unable to make Jerry White's meeting, but I want to thank him for taking the lead and showing some leadership in calling that meeting together like he promised at last month's meeting. That was very commendable of you, Jerry, and I talked with the owners, and of course, Mrs. Jordan I've talked to regularly, and I think that it's going to go real well, and I'm supporting the rezoning. Thank you for what you did, Jerry.
Thank you. Danny, anyone else want to comment? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and call the public hearing on rezoning 1127 Oliver Springs Highway closed. And I believe that's all the business we have for the presentation portion, so we can, 5 minutes early.
Good job.
Yes, yes, he did. Okay. Go ahead, Dr. Parrott. You need to get a quick word in, sir. Go ahead. All right, if everybody could go ahead and check in. Scott, you can continue doing your thing. I don't mean to be rude, sir. Okay, yeah, they got it removed. Commissioner Fritz and Commissioner Smallridge will not be in attendance tonight. They sent messages and safe travels for both of them. Remind everybody to silence your phones if you haven't. If you wouldn't mind, let's rise for the prayer and we'll do the pledge. I'm going to ask Commissioner Waddell to do the pledge and I'll do the prayer. Let's go to Lord in prayer. Oh, most gracious Father, we come to you again today with an open heart, open mind, thanking you for this opportunity to serve those who have elected us to act on their behalf, Lord. We ask that you guide us with your grace and faith, that we do business for this county in the best manner possible. Lord, I also ask that if you could raise the President, the Senate, and Congress. At this time, we need your guidance, Lord, to make this nation the great nation that it is and continue that effort as we move forward. Lord, we can use those at this time. And Lord, I also ask that you please lend your guiding hand and heart to the Jenkins family in Claxton for a recent loss of a family member. Keep them in your heart and spirits, Lord, and uplift them at this time. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Waddell. Okay.
Thank you for a pretty prayer.
Well, it was the Lord, it wasn't me. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. Let's continue on with business here. Parents of citizens, I will say before you come up, state your name and your address. If it's an item that's on the agenda, we really want to save your discussion till that item comes up. So if you hear about the Second Amendment information, that is on the agenda to discuss. But I want everybody in this room to know you will have a right to speak if you so choose. If you'd like for us to sit here to 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll sit right here to 2 o'clock in the morning. Not a problem with me. So there's no one going to be told they can't speak. But just please understand, we have a process within the commission. We have rules and procedures that we will follow, and that goes for all of us around this table, including myself. So I intend to follow those rules and procedures, and I will lean on my parliamentarian heavily during that process. So with that said, any appearance of citizens that would like to come up and speak to any item that's not on the agenda? Yes, sir. Come up, state your name and your address, please.
I'm Ronnie Lloyd. I live at 454 Mahoney Road. What I was come this evening, I just thought about this evening, we bought a piece of property off Cherokee Avenue, and it's been 2 years, and you all agreed to pay us our money back. We paid taxes that we didn't have to pay. So Yuns agreed to give our money back to us, and Yuns told us the proper channels to go through. So we went through all the proper channels, and it's been 2 years, and we still yet can't get them to give their money to us. So I'd like to ask one of Yuns to take charge of that and just get them a check. Yuns agreed that they owed it to me. So if Yuns can get that for me, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. Mr. Yeager's nodding his head back there, the law director, so.
It's been approved. Ronnie, I don't know what the problem is. I'll check on it tomorrow. I got your phone. Give me a shout.
Mr. Lloyd, thank you for bringing it to our attention. Obviously, we have it, and I'm
Yeah.
sure Jay will follow up. And who represents you in your district? Who's got Mahoney Road?
White and McCamey.
Okay, so I'm sure they will help as well.
Okay.
Well, Jerry's grinning at me, though. Not sure he will or not.
And two, I had some questions for you the last time I was here.
Yes, sir.
I asked for answers. Wouldn't care to write them down for me. Anybody get any of the answers for me? Talking about Mahoney Road.
Well, did we say we were sending it to a committee, or did we just let
No.
you speak and then?
You just let me speak. I just said if you would take and answer the questions, and you can tell me later if I'm right or wrong. And I know there's nothing you can do about it. I just take and figured that somebody would take charge of, what it is they supposed to do.
I would suggest this, Mr. Lloyd, is come to the operations meeting or ask one of your commissioners, put those concerns
Yeah.
onto the operations agenda, which is the second Monday of every month, but that Wednesday prior is when about 12 o'clock noon is when the agenda's due, and one of these commissioners can take your concerns. You can email them, call them, and they can put those concerns on that agenda, and then Commissioner Isabel, who's the chairman of operations, he can bring it up and have discussion in that format, then bring it back to full commission if action needs to be taken further.
I take and there's a stack of questions, there don't seem like there's an answer for. It's kind of like, if the place is shut down, why is it that we have to come down with a sound meter to see if they're breaking the law or not, and it don't supposed to be open to start with. It's just a lot of amazing stuff like that still yet. It's kind of like stuff that's just little common sense, and like you said, who's got the answer for you? And nobody does. It's funny. But I appreciate whatever you can take and do. If you just get my money back, I think we're getting where we can survive on the rest of it, I guess.
Mr. Lloyd, thank you for bringing it to our attention. You come back as often as you want and keep reminding us, and I'll do what I can from my side. Thank you, sir. Oh, sorry.
Follow up on that one. You talking about the barn. Is that your question about the barn at Williams Manor? That case is in litigation. I think that's where we were at last time he came. We've got a motion to dismiss filed on that case, just to let him know. We're working on the lawsuit. Thank you.
Thank you for the update, Jay. Appreciate that, sir.
An existing lawsuit that's being worked on, and really can't do anything until we get that settled one way or the other. And I want to tell Ronnie I'll stay on about your check. Okay.
Good. Commissioner White, did you have something, sir?
Exactly what I would have said.
Thank you. Okay. Any other citizens that like to bring anything before us before we get into the approval and corrections of the agenda? Okay, we'll move on. Next, approval and correction of the agendas, consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Oh, I got to hit the button.
I have a motion to approve, sir?
Yes.
And a second by Commissioner Meade. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Commissioner Denenberg, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, I would like to add a request for monies from the waste management funds from commissioners, if they so choose, to be given to Robertsville Middle School for some items that are needed for the boys and girls basketball team.
Okay, so
And the coach is here tonight if anyone has any questions or concerns.
you want to add that to
Sorry about that.
to the regular agenda?
Correct.
Okay. I apologize. Right now, we're on the consent agenda.
Yeah, but
I thought it
that's-
was on the consent agenda, my mistake. So we'll bring it back up,
Very
that
good.
same item under the regular agenda. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? Commissioner Meade, did you have something?
I had commented about this item a while back that the letter I saw had not been approved by
It's all
the-
been taken care of.
It's all been taken care of? Great.
Yes, absolutely
Great.
has.
Thank you.
Okay, good questions, good discussion. Anything else on the consent agenda? All in favor as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with the consent agenda. Next, regular agenda. Commissioner Denenberg, do you have an item you'd like to add?
Yes, as I said before, I would like to add requests for funds from the waste management, from commissioners who wish to donate, to be given to the Robertsville Middle School basketball team, boys and girls.
Have a motion to add to the agenda. Is there a second? And Commissioner Denenberg, where would you like to add that on the agenda?
As under 4A, if at all possible.
commission okay with that? Everybody? Okay. We'll make it 4A. And, Oak Ridge School. We had a motion, we had a second. Any further discussion on that item? Commissioner Creasy.
Yeah, I'd like to move up the operations meeting to, I guess, the next spot, 4B or so.
4B. Let's, we will, sir, and I apologize. Let's finish off that vote on moving the Oak Ridge School donation to 4A. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner Creasy, 4B for the
Yeah,
Operations
make a
Committee.
motion to move it up to 4B.
Have a motion to move the Operations Committee report up to 4B under 4A. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Scott. Any discussion on that item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Operations meeting will be now 4B. Any other changes or corrections to the regular agenda? All in favor as agenda amended, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We will now go to 4A, Oak Ridge School donation. I'm not saying it correctly, but go ahead, Commissioner Denenberg, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. This request has come to me from Coach Spratling, who is here this evening. He, along with Coach Scott, coached the boys and girls teams of the Robertsville Middle School. They have requested funds for very special jerseys that will honor the first black players on the Oak Ridge High School basketball team the year that Oak Ridge was integrated. And if anyone doesn't know, Oak Ridge was the first school to integrate, period. So, Clinton was the first public school, but for all schools in the South and the United States, to my knowledge, Oak Ridge was the first school to integrate. Of course, it was by government conduct, but regardless. So they have jerseys that is part of the education process and history lessons that are being taught now about the history of our communities, and I so move that we would allow Coach Spratling to speak if anybody would like to.
You making a motion, right?
I thought I had hit it, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Denenberg with a motion to make a
Request
donation or
for a donation as
out of the Waste Management funds?
from the Waste Management Fund by any of the commissioners. I already have pledges from some, but if any of the others wish to do so. And I have to say that any monies that would be lacking from commission, I had a call today from Mayor Warren Gooch, who said that he will make up the difference, if any.
Excellent. So we have a motion to make that donation.
Yes.
It's up to commissioners to participate if they so choose.
Correct.
We would contact you and just make that known?
Contact our deputy administrator, Annette Pruitt, and as soon as we have a total, then we'll go forward.
Okay. We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'm in favor. I'll be making a small donation.
Thank you.
I think some others will too, so we appreciate
Thank you.
bringing, and thank you for bringing it, coming, Coach. We appreciate that. Did you want to say anything, Coach? Yeah. Come on up and come to the microphone over here. State your name. Yes, sir. Coach, just briefly, I wasn't going to support this because Robertsville always beats Clinton, and you know I kind of tough on me, but I'm just kidding. I'm
They
certainly
get us
certainly
too
going to
sometimes,
support.
so. They beat us sometimes, too. So it go back and forth. It's a good rivalry.
Yes, sir.
But as a coach, I'm always looking for ways to educate outside of the court or field. I coach football also, and with this 65th anniversary of desegregation of the Oak Ridge schools coming up, we looked at our sports team and like, what can we do to help educate people about what's been going on and what the past, you know, because our story has Clinton. I want to commend Clinton, the city of Clinton, for doing a wonderful job with the Clinton 12. That is a beautiful story, and I've learned a lot through that story. But Oak Ridge has a story too, and we're not competing.
No.
We just want to tell our story. As a history teacher, I have learned that there are many truths in life, And we just want to tell our story, and what a better way to tell it than through sports. These two gentlemen, Fred Gwynn and Lawrence Graham, made the team in Oak Ridge in 1955, but they were not allowed to play, and mainly on away games, you know, because of the color of their skin. They had to get permission, and most times they were turned down, and the other schools would not play them. So this is kind of, you know, Oak Ridge is kind of a secret city, and this kind of still is a secret, and we're just trying to shed some light in history and reflect on the past so that we can learn how we arrived to where we are today. And as a coach, being an African-American coach, I'm very thankful, and I've played sports in Oak Ridge too, but I'm very thankful for these gentlemen paving the way for me to come in and not, you know, when I came through, everything was, I had the green light to do anything I wanted to do, and I don't take that lightly. So I'm just trying to educate the history and bring up what has been forgotten, you know, and just tell the Oak Ridge story.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your words.
I thank you guys for considering our request.
No, thank you for bringing it to our attention. Great job. Thank you, Commissioner Denenberg.
Thank you, Coach.
Did we already vote on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Commissioner Denenberg. Next is the operations meeting. Commissioner Isabel, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got a couple items that I want to speak about, or just give the operations report that's not action items, then we have two. I'll start out with Mayor Frank. On motion made by Commissioner Meade, seconded by Commissioner Jameson, and passed with one no vote to move ahead with the resolution in support of the Second Amendment and bring back to the next Operations Committee meeting. It wasn't said to full commission. It was just, I'm just reading what we discussed.
Yeah.
So that was approved.
It'll come back next month.
Yeah, it'll come back next month to operations. But I know that there's people here in the audience and that's in support of a resolution for the Second Amendment, and the mayor could probably, if you would, mind, Mr. Chairman, she could probably explain a little bit about that.
If she'd like, sure. Commissioner Scott, what page is that operations report on?
I'm having a hard time finding it,
I'm looking
to be quite
myself.
honest.
It's at the very end.
160.
Thank you, Commissioner Val. Appreciate it. 160.
I'm digging.
What did he say? 163? Yeah. Tell you what it is, I'm on the consent agenda. I will never find it there. Sorry, Mayor, come on up. I apologize.
Well, I had just brought this to the Operations Committee, and I had shared with the committee a couple of sample resolutions. I believe those were from Sullivan County, Jefferson County. Roane County has also passed one, and so because many citizens had requested this, I did not want to blindside commission, so I approached Operations with some sample drafts in order to get input. So I will return with a draft based on some input from commission and have that at the operations meeting in February. I believe that's February 10th.
Thank you, Mayor. Does anyone in the audience have any questions? Yes, sir. Come on up. State your name and your address.
Joe Paris, 205 Duncan Road in Briceville. This really touches down to heart when we talk about Second Amendment. I'm originally from Connecticut, member of the NRA, was in competitions. I mean, it's not just about having a gun to carry, it's about protecting yourself. It's about having fun with friends. You know, you can go out, have a decent competition, organized, you know. It makes a difference to be able to get together, have fellowship with other, you know, other guys and women, you know, and do some time away from home and work, you know. But I would like to see Mayor Frank get this carried through, and with the county commission's help, get this resolution passed.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Parrish. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Come on up. Yeah, please, sir. That happens when we have a full house like this. Yes, sir. Just state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Roger that. My name's Chris Satoros. I live on Highway Drive in Clinton. I was here last week, and I said a little something last week, and everybody keeps, I see everybody walking around with all these gun stickers on, and they, you know, guys, it ain't about guns, not even a little bit. It starts there, just like you said last week. It starts there. This is about a country that was founded on the Constitution. And I believe it's your constitutional right to stand up for it. If you took that oath, now I've never seen a county commissioner's oath. I've never really got into the government side of things. I honestly could have cared less. But it's time that we all start caring just a little bit. Because if you don't, you're going to be sad one day. And you're going to miss it. I mean, I respect everybody here. You've got to where you're at because the people have voted for you. And you've won their respect. And you've won their admiration somehow. You've done something or you've said something. And all I'm asking is stand up for your people of your county. I don't care about all these other counties. I care about Anderson County and the people in it. We're lucky to have this place. We are all lucky to have Anderson County. If you've ever lived in another state or another place like I have, I came back here. I lived in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Hated every second of it. I came back home. And this is where I'm going to die. There you go. I'm going to die right here in this county. I love it. So all I'm asking is do what your heart tells you. And not what popular opinion says or anything else. Because it ain't about guns. It ain't about, you don't see me wearing gun stickers or rebel flags on my shirt. I could care less about those things. It's about the Constitution of the United States. And it's about upholding it and not turning a blind eye to it and walking the other way. It's about upholding it for you people of your county, the people that put you where you're at. It's about doing the job that they've asked you to do. I guess that's all I got to say.
Good job. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it, sir. You too, sir. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Come on up. State your name, your address, please.
Douglas White, Golden Avenue, Lake City. I'm ex-military. I served in the Air Force. I didn't serve my full contract because I was young, dumb, and stupid at the time. I've always been about guns. I'll give you an answer to this. Last week, in our apartment complex, we had a guy that was stupid. Decided to just pull his gun out and just fire it without aiming. He gets away. If I would have been home, I'm sorry, I would have shot him. I'm ex-military. I do everything I can to protect anybody around me. Doesn't matter if I know you or not. I love shooting. It's a stress relief to me. Anybody else that shoots guns, that loves guns, or knows anything about them. It's not about the gun, it's the person behind it. It's all if they're in the right mindset. I'll do anything to protect anybody I know, or anybody around me. Because if that would have been one of my kids that got shot, I would have been severely pissed at Lake City Police Department and everybody around. So therefore, I'm going to protect my family. I'm going to protect my neighborhood. I'll do anything to help anybody at any time that I'm possibly able to do it. It's where I come from. I've seen it a lot worse, but I've seen it a lot easier too. So that's what I have to say about the Second Amendment. We should all be able to protect our families and our homes. I've got 4 kids. I'm going to protect them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. White. Commissioner, I'll come to you in a second, Commissioner Scott. Just remind everybody, this issue is going to go back to operations, February 10th. I welcome you all to attend that meeting. I'm on operations, and there's 8 of us, represent 1 from each district. We'll all be at that meeting, and we'll have good discussion. Like to hear your thoughts there, too. So come on, February 10th to be at 6 o'clock or 6:30? 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. So we'll have more discussion then, and we'll be able to have further dialogue. Commissioner Scott, did you have something?
I had a question for Mr. White.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
You said that you were mad at Lake City Police Department. You started out talking about the Second Amendment and rights to be able to bear a gun, but you're upset with the police department. I wanted to know why.
They're lazy. in my eyes.
Okay.
Let's-
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay, well,
Thank
let's just, I mean, I'm happy to talk about the Second Amendment right, but I'm not.
I wanted to
don't
know how that
any-
connected
No, that's
with-
fine, but,
with
you know, we're not
the
here
Second
to
Amendment.
disparage any other government offices or
Oh, no,
anything.
sure.
And I understand, you have your right to your opinion, and you have your right to ask a question, but I just don't want to get off track here, so, no problem, no problem. Okay, anybody else want to speak to the issue before we move on? Again, February 10th, the operations meeting. Okay, anything else on that issue? This, Commissioner, Chairman Isabel, please resume on your operation agenda, sir.
Motion made by Commissioner Yeager, seconded by Commissioner Creasy, and passed for the mayor to establish a TIF study and formulating committee, the mayor to be the guiding hand of this committee. That was the other thing that was discussed.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Yeager, sir.
Thank you. I have a resident in my district here to speak on that matter. It's Parker Hardy from the Oak Ridge Chamber of Commerce, and he has a few thoughts about this TIF situation, if he'd like to come up and say a few words.
Is it okay, Commissioner Creasy, Commissioner Meredith, have Parker come up real quick before we get into discussion?
Oh, yes, and I'm going to yield to Meredith.
Come on up, Parker.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you this evening. My name is Parker Hardy. I live at 123 Amanda Drive in Oak Ridge. That's in the Anderson County portion of Oak Ridge. My role and the Oak Ridge Chamber's role in Oak Ridge is to be the lead retail recruitment organization for our community, and that's a process that keeps us in touch with more than 50 retail or shopping center developer prospects in any given year. It typically involves 3 to 5 recruiting trips outside the community to keep that prospect deal flow moving. And so from a professional standpoint, I can talk about the merits of TIFs and the jeopardy of rolling the possibility of TIFs into a study commission. Tennessee's approach to tax increment financing is already seen as somewhat conservative, and that's a good thing, because in Tennessee, TIF financing only applies property tax revenues, not sales tax revenues, into the TIF revenue stream. And so for the county commission or for the city council, the return on investment on a TIF from sales tax is certainly, in most instances, far outstrips the return on property tax that is directed into the TIF district. When I approach potential developers or retail real estate executives and inform them that tax increment financing is part of our community's toolbox, that tends to attract their attention. In my experience in doing this for over 30 years in the Chamber of Commerce industry and over 20 years in the city of Oak Ridge, when TIFs are seen or when tax increment financing is seen as jeopardized, then developer interest wanes. And we are competing against every state in the country for these important developments that bring new revenues, new jobs, and new sales tax collection into our community. Since each tax increment financing project is, must stand alone in their consideration by various elected bodies, in my opinion, the need for such a study is moot. And the very possibility that tax increment financing might be jeopardized, in my opinion, also reduces the likelihood of positive interaction with retail prospects or shopping center developers. I'll be happy to answer any questions about my experience with that, and I thank you for the opportunity to spend some time with you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Parker. Any questions for Parker before he leaves? Thank you, Parker. Commissioner Waddell, yes, sir.
You mentioned the retail tax for the county. Can you just give me an example of how much of that percentage of a retail tax is going to come to the general fund of the county?
That's going to depend upon where the project is, obviously, because there is the county receives a certain percentage, the schools, and the individual community. So that's on a case-by-case basis. when a tax increment financing project is proposed, an economic impact statement has to be prepared for each individual TIF proposal. So to make a blanket statement would be I think would be somewhat misleading. Generally speaking, it's safe to say that the sales tax collected, say, on a shopping center development is going to outstrip by far the property tax that would be collected on that project.
Okay. Would it be fair to say, let's say, is Oak Ridge 975, is that correct?
9.75, yes, sir.
Okay, so 975, the state gets 7 cents of
About
that, is
that,
that
yes, sir.
correct? Okay, so that leaves 2.75. Oak Ridge, if it's in Oak Ridge will get half of that, correct? Right off the bat.
Depending upon the formula for each TIF, because
Okay.
every TIF stands alone, and in some cases, the county or the city's portion of the TIF may be lesser than or greater than the other. Again, each individual TIF project has to stand alone.
Because it just seems that the TIFs that we've had recently, the county general fund's not getting any money out of it, or very little. It goes to the cities, to the city schools, to the county schools, but the general fund doesn't get any, and that's why I've had an issue with TIFs, is because that's our way of paying our bills, is by property tax only. That's how we pay our bills. And, you know, I mean, I'd be open to any, I'd just like to see some money going in the general fund instead of going to all the cities and the county school. So I'm just not willing to give up our tax money for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Waddell. Thank you, Parker.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Parker? Thanks again, Parker, for coming. Commissioner Creasy, you were next. You still want to defer to Meredith and then come back to you?
I was going to, because I was going to say some of the same things he'll probably say, but I want to kind of address the concerns of Mr. Waddle. Answer some of the questions there. I fill out a sales tax return for the state every quarter, and I think it's 2.25 comes back to our local governments. In other words, for Oak Ridge, it'd be 2.25, I believe, % of those is a local tax. But if you look at the finance report that we're going to get from the budget director here very shortly, and it's in our agenda, you'll see a tremendous increase in the sales tax coming back into the county. There's a total of $3,190,143.21 total Anderson County sales taxes. Of that amount, the Oak Ridge portion of that county sales tax is $2,077,688.60. That's one of the reasons for that higher income that we're getting on our sales tax. That's why our funds are much higher now than they were. That's approximately 65.128% of that revenue is coming from Oak Ridge. So apparently, the industrial development and that development of the downtown area is working. So I think we're doing something right. We're taking in a lot more money than we have been this year over the previous years. So I think the industrial development boards that Rick Meredith's involved with and Parker Hardy, I think we're doing something right, and not sure if we should, how much we should mess with it and let them do the studies and make their recommendations back to this committee. I think they're doing a good job.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy. Commissioner Merritt.
There's no question we're bringing in more money, but it's where it's going is my issue.
Yes, I understood that, and I wasn't challenging you.
I understand.
I was just trying to,
I get that we're bringing in more money, but
yeah,
we're giving it out of this pot and it's coming back into this pot.
I respect your comments, but I was wanting to just give you an idea that I think we're doing something right.
Thank you. Commissioner Meredith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to add to my colleague, Mr. Hardy at the Oak Ridge Chamber of Commerce. Obviously, I represent the Anderson County Chamber of Commerce, and, you know, we do the retail recruitment as well. And right now, it's pretty hot, as you all know, with the projects that we're getting. Does our policies probably need to be looked at? I've shared with several of you on commission. Sure. I think the most important thing in this, when you use the word study committee moratorium, you tell the people we're recruiting, you give them kind of a sense of, well, you're thinking about it, or you're not sure. And it does hinder people that we have out there wiggling on a hook, as far as Parker and I, with some confidential projects, some that are not. I personally think, to Commissioner Creasy's point, is we already have a committee, and that's our industrial boards in Oak Ridge, as well as the Anderson County Industrial Board, which all of you are they're just like us. They're appointed across the county. So we have a good representation on that board, and they're doing a great job with the help of the person that mainly wrote the TIF laws, Mr. Mark Mamatoff, who is both industrial boards' bond counsel. We just did a little open house last week for you guys and some of the public. I know some of you couldn't come, but we videotaped that, and I have that PowerPoint presentation for all of you. Andy here at Channel 95 is working on that, and I'll get that out to you, where he did a TIF 101 explaining all this. It's very complicated. I think many of you have heard me say, we'll try this, and if we have to change it, we need to change it. I think we need to put reliability in the committee we already have set up and the way it's set up in state law, and that's our industrial board. If any of you, the mayor or whomever, has a problem or an issue or something they want to change in those policies we have in place, the Anderson County Industrial Board's going to meet once every other month this year. Oak Ridge's industrial board meets monthly. There's several opportunities to make changes, but to hinder using the word study committee, moratorium, you know, it hurts us badly in the recruiting part, especially with projects that are out there that, you know, a couple of these projects that we worked on, or I worked on, were a couple of years in the making. I've talked to Commissioner Val at the meeting about changing the policy for our rural cities, and that's going to be an easy thing. I've already presented it to the industrial board once, and hopefully that amendment will come at the next meeting on February 11th at 4 o'clock. So I guess let's let the industrial boards do their job, and if these policies are not correct or we have an issue with this, the terms, let's let them be our committee, and they can bring those amendments right back to this board. I just think we're sending the wrong message. So I would encourage all of you to vote against this. And may I reference Commissioner Wandell? I know you and I have discussed what you're asking, Mr. Hardy. So remember something.
Waddell or Wandell?
Waddell.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr.
I didn't know I said
Mr.
anything.
Chairman. Just remember the incremental part is the only thing goes to the TIF. You're still keeping the tax base. That goes straight into the general fund. It doesn't go away. And when we have a 13 or 14% increase in sales tax over the last year and still one more month to report, it's pretty good news on the economic front for our county. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Meredith. Commissioner Denenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make a couple of comments in support of what Commissioner Meredith has just pointed out. I did attend the seminar that the Chamber offered last week. It was very informative, and I was very glad to see that they were taping it for those who were not able to attend and still may have questions on TIFs and how they are a good thing. But I also want to say that I want to be able to give as much support to what they are doing and not hinder them in being able to let it be known to the business communities out there, whether they're, wherever they're from, that this county is open for discussion on whatever development they may want to bring here. And if a TIF is a tool that will get their attention, I think that it's certainly something that needs to be available, and when they're brought to us, they should be looked at on an individual basis. So I want to support and intend to support our Industrial Development Board and give them every opportunity that we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Denenberg. Commissioner Val.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the mayor wanted to speak. If it's okay, I'll let her speak and then I'll speak. if
Sure.
It's all right.
I mean, that's fine.
I just wanted, just procedurally, to address a couple of things. First, I did come to operations requesting two motions. One was a motion to establish a temporary moratorium not to exceed 6 months for the approval of any new TIF proposal. That motion was not taken up and did not pass. So the language is not the same. The motion that did pass was a motion to set up a committee, and I just recommended a name, which was the Tax Increment Financing Study and Formulating Committee. So that is what passed. It wasn't a moratorium. That was the motion that was passed and recommended for approval by Operations Committee. Then there have been some other things said, for instance, that a TIF generally pays for itself out of sales tax, and that is one of the issues that I raised at the operations meeting. Not all the TIFs that this body has approved do generate sales tax. And I have used Oak Ridge and the City Center project as a great example of one that has worked. We all in this body, even some commissioners that aren't here today, approved that proposal because everyone recognized the sheer steep devaluation of that Oak Ridge property. And everyone recognized the leakage and to sales tax dollars to Knoxville, the lack of retail, what that was doing economically as well as psychologically and emotionally for the city. And so that is one that has paid dividends. But there are other TIF proposals that we have approved. Hotels, a spec industrial building, a Tractor Supply, a couple of strip malls. And on those, when we come through a process where we just raise taxes and we are essentially freezing property tax and allowing the developer to use that property tax to pay their development costs, I'm only asking that we take a little bit closer look at what our goals are and what we want to accomplish in terms of retail development. One of the questions, for instance, is do we want to focus these areas on blighted areas? So I think we can look at what was going on in Oak Ridge, and what was happening with the mall was a form of blight, and that's why everyone was all on board for that. Does it make more sense, for instance, Rocky Top has really had a serious issue recruiting business. Does it make sense there? Yes. But, you know, those are the things that we need to look at in terms of before we send a message that we're open for TIFs, it would be good to identify what are our goals to accomplish with a TIF. What do we want to see happen? And an example is in Chattanooga, they still have debt service. They retain, instead of allowing 100% of the TIF to go to the development cost, they retain 15% for their debt service. The same thing, Metro Davidson County, they decided they have so much growth. Growth has brought upon traffic problems. They have a lot of issues that they never thought they'd have to deal with. And there is, all the money is tied up in TIFs that are going to pay those development costs but then there is no additional revenue from the property tax to pay for the infrastructure and the roads. And you saw Nashville just come through a big referendum on mass transit. So what they did is they limited the TIFs to 10 years instead of 20-year repayments. Those are things that, I don't know, maybe there's nothing on the table that we would like to look at, but I think it is worthy to study an issue, bring in some experts. If we want to do that as a full body, I just suggested a committee because you could get your property assessor, your finance director, some individuals like that who could make some recommendations. A great example, the hotel that we approved recently. 90% of that goes to tourism only, 10% goes to the chamber. The general fund is not a recipient of any of those dollars. But yet the schools have escalating costs, the county has escalating costs. What does an apartment complex in terms of a TIF? We have to provide additional services. How do we pay for those additional services? And so those are some of the things that I'm just recommending we take a look at, maybe make some recommendations on the front end. And I will say a lot of the sales tax, Anderson County has gotten into the TIF mode. Really within the last year, you've seen a lot of proposals come before you, but Anderson County has steadily grown in sales tax, the county portion. And those are from county businesses, a Weigel builds, or someone is operating. A lot of that has happened without the TIFs, without the benefits of TIFs. And I'm not here saying no TIFs. I'm saying let's just make sure that it meets our economic goals and our priorities as a county. And are there some guardrails that we want to put in place to help us as we make decisions on that? So it's not an anti-TIF. It's just, is there a better way to make sure that we get a return as far as the county goes?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you,
Commissioner
Mr.
Brown, I'll
Chairman.
come back to you. Yes, sir.
Appreciate the mayor's comments on that, and I do appreciate Rick and the chamber for putting on the seminar last week. Learned a lot about TIFs. Still kind of confused on some of it, but I'm learning. And I do believe that the city of Oak Ridge is blessed. I shop there quite often. I do believe the 122 exit here in Clinton is blessed. Shop there quite often. Rocky Top needs a grocery store. They don't have a Belk's. They don't have a movie theater. They're suffering right now and they need a grocery store. I have people in my district who tell me that repeatedly, and I know Tim hears it probably more often than I. I understand the concept of TIFs, and I understand the concept of bringing in revenue, and I understand the idea of where that revenue goes when we bring it in. I'm going to put it in simple, practical terms. Rocky Top needs a grocery store. If you brought me a TIF proposal right now that put a grocery store in Rocky Top, I'd vote for it without even thinking about it. It's hard for me and my constituents in the north end of the county to understand the concept of, well, for 20 years, we're going to put this TIF in place, and eventually it's going to generate some revenue. Some of it's going to go here, some of it's going to go there, and eventually maybe it'll push to the 2 Rocky Top exits that we have that are totally underdeveloped. I have a hard time selling that, folks. I really do. I appreciate the chamber's efforts and the industrial board's efforts to change the policy to make it easier for more business to come in. I hope somebody out there is listening that's going to bring a grocery store to Rocky Top, and I'll vote for that TIF. But right now, I have constituents telling me I don't understand a property tax increase and doing a TIF at the same time. And I try to explain it to them the best I can. I hope that presentation, maybe you put it online or on Channel 95 and our constituents can watch it and get a better understanding. Maybe they can educate me more on it. But as of right now, I have to say, if we're going to go with the industrial board study on it and go to them as the foremost experts, that's fine. But we have to get a grip on the idea of TIFs in Oak Ridge or TIFs in Clinton are eventually going to trickle down to bring more development to the north end of the county. I haven't seen it yet. And if it's going to happen, I hope it happens soon because I got people suffering. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Val. Commissioner Yeager.
Thank you. Well, I feel for what district are you?
4.
I really feel for District 4, and I hope you're successful in that. But the numbers that Commissioner Creasy put out, and I didn't write them down, but there's a multiplier effect for figures. And I can't remember what, I mean, I don't know if the number, if you multiply it by 2, 3, 4, I don't know, but there's more to these sales tax revenues than just those numbers. It creates jobs, it creates housing, it creates more people for our schools, so obviously we get more income from that way. So it's not just the sales tax. There's a great deal more that goes into those numbers, and it's far beyond that. So that's just a short thing I had to add.
Thank you, Commissioner Yeager. Commissioner McCamey.
Mr. Chairman, the way the motion that passed in Operations Committee was to just form a study and formulating committee to look at some of these different things that we've been discussing here tonight. It wasn't to change anything. It was just to come up with some better ways of managing our TIFs. And I don't see anything wrong with that. And that's, you know, I respect Mr. Hardy and Commissioner Meredith in their positions, but this may be something come out of this committee that committee doesn't have the authority to change anything. It would just be a recommendation to come back to the full commission, and I'm sure that the mayor and anybody that she appoints to that committee would work with the chambers from both areas and Rocky Top, and you know, bring that back for us to look at and possibly vote on. But it doesn't allow that committee to make changes. It just, you know, if there's something that we're missing somewhere that somebody like in Nashville is doing that would better Anderson County, then I'm all for it. But, you know, there is a lot of misunderstanding about TIFs. People get that mixed up with tax abatement, which I'm totally against abating taxes. But I've supported most of the TIFs that have been presented to us because they are presented to us with, this is what's going to happen, you know. So, like I said, it's not, we're not voting here tonight to establish a committee that can change it. It's just that they can make recommendations, and then we can change it as a body later on.
Thank you, Commissioner McCamey. Good point. Commissioner Isabel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner McCamey basically said what I was going to say. This is just a study, and if we come up with a study to make things better, I think we should support that. Yes, we do have some blighted areas, you know, Rocky Top and Oliver Springs. Oliver Springs is, you know, they may lose their high school, and I can tell you from experience, history, when you lose your high school, you start losing everything else. We've lost our hospital, we lost our doctors, we've lost our grocery store. We're down to it, and we need some help. As a matter of fact, I hired Mayor Lovely. He retired from Y12. He works 2 days a week, and I've talked to the Anderson County Chamber President. We had a Rocky Top Chamber meeting this morning. And what Mayor Lovely, or ex-Mayor Lovely's duties is, for a couple hours every day he's there, is to reach out and try to bring development to Rocky Top. That's what he's going to be paid for. And he's going to work with the Anderson County Chamber, the Rocky Top Chamber, and some of the local people there that have some properties and some of the outlay and things that we have. You know, we're talking about maybe a Rural King. You know, a Rural King right there on I-75, that would be an anchor. Yes. So that's what we're looking for. But all this is just a study to see if we can make things better. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Isabel. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to echo that I feel for District 4 and Rocky Top. That's when you don't have a grocery store within a certain number of miles, you're designated a USDA food desert, and it's a big impact on people's health and nutrition. And I originally thought that TIFs were designed originally for more of a blighted area or a distressed area, and so that's where I've heard a lot of pushback in my district. Why is somebody having trouble developing a lot at the exit in 122? You know, that's kind of the economically booming part of the county. So that's where I've had kind of some dissent. And I voted for and against different TIFs, and I agree with Commissioner Denenberg, we should take them one at a time. But the great thing about this commission, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can authorize the mayor to have the committee and study it without necessarily contradicting what the IDB is doing, and we can, while we're studying it, we didn't vote to have a moratorium, so we can take up a TIF tomorrow, and I hope we get a TIF proposal for a grocery store in Rocky Top, because I'm gonna vote for that one too, so.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Good discussion. Just, I guess the first action item, should this committee be formed, would hopefully be Rocky Top grocery store. You know, not necessarily the parameters and what's holding it up or anything, but maybe that'd be the good function, focus for them. I will say this, though, if I'm not mistaken, Mayor, you do appoint folks to the IDB board, correct? No?
They are self-appointed.
Okay.
And then you all confirm that.
Do you attend the IDB meetings?
I have been, yes, sir.
So you're
They
able to make-
haven't met that often, but recently, because they've had so many TIF proposals, they've been meeting quite often.
And you're able to give your
Yes.
comments at these
Yes.
meetings and concerns when the TIFs come up if you happen to be there. I know you're
Absolutely,
still-
yes.
So you're able to give your input there. Okay. Any other discussion? Do we have a motion on the floor? Would you like, oh, yes, sir, come on up. State your name and you got 3 minutes.
I'll be quicker.
Okay, 1 minute. 45 seconds?
My name is Eric Keller. I live at 167 Liberty Court. I completely agree with the mayor. Research is good in that sense. You can quantify a dollar multiplier. You can quantify a lot of this and determine its effectiveness. That's what research is all about. I commend a study project and completely agree with Mayor Franks. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Appreciate it. Any further discussion? Let's get a vote on this. Who made the motion? Or has there been a motion? I mean, is there a motion on the floor? Do we have a motion? Okay. All right, so discussion's over. You got a motion by Commissioner Isabel to approve. I'll just read the motion real quickly. Again, I know you've read it before, Commissioner Isabel. I just, upon motion made by Commissioner Yeager, seconded by Commissioner Creasy, and passed for the mayor to establish a TIF study and formulating committee, the mayor to be the guiding hand of this committee. We have a motion by Commissioner
Reverse those. I'm the second.
Isabel, seconded by Commissioner McCamey. Any other discussion on that? Commissioner McCamey, did you have another discussion, or
No.
you're just trying to hit the button? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Let's go to the board. I can't tell.
Yeah, that's close.
We need 9, correct?
We need 9.
To pass.
Yes.
7 yes, 7 no's, motion fails, correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Doesn't mean the mayor won't still stay on top of things.
That's right.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, I appreciate bringing it to our attention. Okay, any other items on the Operations Committee, Mr.?
MOU Oak Ridge General Sessions Court, upon motion made by Commissioner McCamey, seconded by Commissioner Meade, and passed 5-2 for the full commission for approval.
Is there a motion on this item? Have a motion, Commissioner Meade, to approve as presented? I have a second by Commissioner McCamey. Any discussion on the MOU Oak Ridge General Session Court 2? Commissioner Scott.
I've spoken with some of the heads in
Sorry. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
in Oak Ridge. I'm just waiting for it to get quieter by minutes. And they're a little bumfuzzled over this, saying that they haven't had anybody come to them. And I would simply make a motion to defer it for 90 days to allow the mayor, the city manager, et cetera, in the city of Oak Ridge to be able to receive the documentation and/or have an opportunity to come to us, as opposed to throwing a document at them saying, we want you to pay this much for, et cetera. It's only fair. They're not aware of it.
So we have a motion on the floor and a second. Are you making a deferral motion?
Yes, sir, for 90 days to allow both sides to be able to discuss and negotiate.
So how does that work? the deferral motion. I want to just make sure we're doing it right. Is that right? Deferral first?
Yeah, you vote on the deferral first, and it doesn't require comment, I don't think.
Okay.
Unless you attach a time frame, which she did, and you can speak on the deferral motion.
And I'm asking for 90 days. I don't think this is a fire. I don't
Okay.
believe it's an
So we have
emergency.
a deferral motion by Commissioner Scott, seconded by Commissioner Yeager. Since there's a timeline, as you mentioned, any other discussion on that?
Yes.
Commissioner McCamey?
This memorandum of understanding, if we approve it tonight, then it will go to the Oak Ridge City Council because they have to approve it and sign off. I couldn't go to the Oak Ridge City Council and say, this is what I intend to do, or this is what our commission wants to do. So I think we need to take it up tonight and not defer it, take it up, vote it up or down, and then send it to the city, and they will take it up at their next meeting, and if they agree, we have an understanding. If not, then we'll have to take some other action, but it would go to them, and they'd have plenty of time to discuss it at their commission or their council meeting. But if we don't approve it, we can't send it to them and say, y'all want to do this, I think we need to vote on it tonight. If this commission decides they don't want it, they can vote it down. If they want it, then they can vote it up, and we send it to Oak Ridge for their blessing on it. And if they choose not to, then we don't have an agreement. It's a memorandum of understanding. I worked with the law director on this, and that was basically his recommendation, that we bring it to the full commission and vote it up or down, and then send it to Oak Ridge for their consent.
Thank you, Commissioner McCamey. Any other discussion on the deferral motion? Commissioner Creasy?
I would just want to say I support Commissioner Scott's motion.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And I'll speak, and if that fails, I'll speak on the main motion.
Commissioner Meade, did you want to speak on the deferral motion? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
One of the things you got to keep in mind, this is not something that's new. Okay, the original state law that allowed us to have that court in Oak Ridge, which is a huge advantage to people there, and particularly the businesses. It's a huge financial thing. It's also a big savings for the Oak Ridge Police, and there's a lot of financial assets to it. That original law clearly states that the city of Oak Ridge shall supply the room for the court and the room for the staff that supports the court, period. Since that time, the city of Oak Ridge is slow, and it's my city, it's my district, okay? They have slowly taken back from that oath that they made when they got the court put in Oak Ridge. We just want to return to what the state law actually says, that they are required to pay for the building, the support of the building, the utilities in the building, that includes a courtroom and room for the associated staff. And that's not controversial. That was passed by the state legislature in its current law. So this is not something new. This has been them slowly backing off or saying, hey, look, this is what is required, and we'd like you to, to make us another offer, basically. Does that sound right to you?
Any other comments on the deferral motion? All in favor of the deferral, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Let's go to the board. Nine to pass to defer. Motion fails 7-7. We're being very consistent tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, back to the original motion on the floor, correct? We have a motion to pass the memorandum of understanding as presented. We had a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Creasy.
Yes, the problem I have I agree that we need an agreement between the city of Oak Ridge and Anderson County in regard to the court. I agree with that. Mr. McCamey, I may be out of order here. I shouldn't put it that way. there are figures in this agreement that need to be negotiated, in my opinion. The normal way to do that is to turn it over to the two attorneys, our law director and the city attorney, and let them discuss and bring recommendations back to each body until we reach a mutual agreement between the two bodies. And then the two bodies vote on it. And I think that's the way it should work. I would like to amend the motion and remove the dollar figures from that agreement. And then let the attorneys work together to come back with an agreement that will satisfy both bodies.
We have a motion to amend the original motion. Is there a second to the amendment?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion on the amendment as presented? Mayor, certainly come on up if you'd like. Any commissioners have any discussion on the amendment? Mayor, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to be at least a guiding hand in the negotiations in order to provide input on the actual cost of the facilities. So I know Commissioner McCamey worked with the law director on that amount, and I think there were two proposals in there for maybe an amount for 10 years, an amount for 20 years. But I think that needs to be looked at in terms of the escalating costs of electricity, of all the costs that providing a facility. Replacement costs, I think, were included in there. So, for instance, there'd be a match on if there's a new roof needed or whatever. But at least kind of a consult so that I can put Roger with the law director on what those actual costs of providing that facility are on an annual basis.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Any other discussion on the amendment?
What is the amendment exactly?
Amendment, Commissioner Creasy, is to remove the amount in the current memorandum of understanding. Is that correct?
Yes.
And send it over to Oak Ridge for them to start, I mean, don't let me speak to it for you.
Yeah, and let the law directors and the city attorney work with both bodies to reach a mutual agreement that's agreeable to both bodies.
Do you have any
And
problems
then-
with the mayor being part of that group?
Yeah, I don't want her directing it. I want the law director to be the one directing it. If she wants to work with the law director, that's fine. I have no problem with that.
I was just asking.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. All right. Does that answer your question, Commissioner McCamey?
Yeah. I still need to say something about the original motion, and the reason I put in the $800,000 is what we spent, what we're paying for every year on a $1.4 million bond that we took out. We spent $800,000. We spent about $600,000 after we moved out into the Capiello building where the Taco Bell is now. So we put $1.3 million in that of county taxpayers' money when not one penny was supposed to be paid by the county. On top of that, we're paying the judge's salary, we're paying the sheriff's department to transport the prisoners down there. I'm just trying to recoup some of the money that we spent, not all of it. It would be a partnership, and that's why I came up with an MOU. It's a partnership with them. But, and if they want to find us a place and move out, that's fine. But we put $800,000 in a court that we should never have put one penny into, and we put $600,000 into rental property for 7 or 8 years that we were out of the municipal building that they originally had. So we've got well over $1 million in what should have been nothing to the county.
Thank you.
The county taxpayer don't receive any benefit for that court being down there.
Thank you, Commissioner McCamey. I think with the law director and the mayor, and I think hopefully discuss those as negotiating points when they go through this process. Okay, any other discussion? Commissioner Scott, do you have a comment on the amendment?
I was simply going to back what Commissioner Creasy had brought to our attention. I think it's wrong that a document be just tossed over there and expected for them to agree to it when you've got figures, like he said. And those figures need to be pulled out. That's
And I
wrong.
understand that logic, Commissioner, I'm sorry, Commissioner Scott. I
But
didn't
it's not for commission to decide,
Oh,
this is what the figures should be. It should be a negotiation tool between the two attorneys.
And truthfully, the other side of the coin could be that was the negotiation tool with the number being inserted. You know, obviously, the city of Oak Ridge, I'm positive, will look at that document, massage it, and make red lines and changes.
I'd like to think they will, but I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's wrong for us to agree to something and then throw it over to city council and let them be blindsided as well.
Okay, and I respect your opinion.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Meade?
As the maker of the motion, well, one of the things I want to point out is first, there's already an agreement in place. It's a state law. Okay, and if we don't give them some number, they don't even know what the question is. And so I think we have to have the numbers in there, okay? And then they can respond. Otherwise, we're saying, look, we think you need to pay more. And they say, well, how about another $50? I think they need to understand the scope, what we're looking at, and I think they know. I have personally talked with Mayor Gooch at least 6 or 7 times about this. Not recently, but for years, I brought that up with him again and again, that they're not paying their fair share as required by state law for that court. So I'm fully in favor, and this needs to be passed. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Isabel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just trying to figure out how to put my statement in as it being the dollar figure. But as Commissioner Creasy talked about earlier, that our $3 million increase in sales tax revenue last year and 2.7 come out of Oak Ridge. And then we talked about how the TIFs that the county did is what got us to this point of 2.7. So that means the county invested into that TIF to be able to get the 2.7 to Oak Ridge. I think Oak Ridge could afford it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good comments. All right, let's vote on the amendment, and the amendment is to remove the numbers from the current memorandum of understanding as presented. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Let's go to the board. Maybe I should just start with the board. This is on the amendment only, to remove the numbers. Will it be 7-7?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so? Ooh, 8-6, still failed. Okay, back to the original motion on hand. We've had plenty of discussion. I think we should just, if the commission is okay, let's just vote it up or down on the original motion. Memorandum of understanding, unless any commissioner has anything else they would like to add. Okay, the original maker of the motion was, do you have that back there? Commissioner Meade, and the second, Commissioner McCamey. Okay. Can you put that up on the board, Brian? I think you're probably working on that. Okay, let's go to the board if there's no other discussion. Yes is to send the memorandum of understanding over as is. Again, they probably can make changes, I would imagine. No would to be not to send the memorandum of understanding. Okay? Motion passed, 9 yes, 5 noes. Next business item, Commissioner Isabel.
New business, upon motion made by Commissioner McCamey, seconded by Commissioner Meade, to forward the full commission with a recommendation to approve that we ask the person agent to go ahead and accept sealed bids on 205 South Main Street and add the intended purpose to the bid. Motion passed contingent on the law director and purchasing agent working together.
Commissioner Meade, is that your motion, sir?
Yes, that's my motion.
Yes, sir. Seconded by Commissioner Isabel. Any discussion on that motion as presented? This will still give Chevrolet dealer an opportunity, if they so choose, to purchase.
Anybody whatsoever that
Yes,
can
sir.
bid on it.
Okay.
But we'll know, say for instance, if the bid comes in extremely low, like it has been.
Yes, sir.
But there will be, by them putting their use on there, we'll know whether we're going to have retail sales tax or if it's just going to be rental property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mead, sir?
This also is going to, by putting this back out of the market, one, we find out what maybe it's worth now, because the last time we bid this property out, part of the bid process was that there would be absolutely no commissions of any kind paid. Okay, now this motion actually allows some small commission to be paid. What this does is all those commercial brokerages all over this area that find people to make these kind of investments, if they see that there's absolutely no commissions at all, next, you understand, they don't even think about it again. If there's even a small commission available, that can make a huge difference, that they will go ahead and forward somebody on to us, otherwise we would never hear from.
Thank you, Commissioner Mead. Let's go to the board on this one. Anybody else? Let's go to the board. What?
I have an amendment.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I did have, but it
It's
looked
okay.
like it
Go ahead.
disappeared. Yeah, I'd like to amend the motion that we receive a minimum bid of 600,000.
We have
Is-
an amendment.
The minimum
To the-
bid be 600,000.
Ain't gonna happen.
Have an amendment to the motion. Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of second. Commissioner Mead.
I would just get a comment not in favor of the change.
Thank you. Commissioner McCamey, did you have something, sir?
Yeah, wasn't it part of our motion, maybe it was just left out, but I thought we agreed to forward to commission that we have a 3% or 5%.
That's what I thought,
That's what Commissioner.
Yeah, was it 3 or 5%?
It was 3.
3%. I'd like to make that a part of the
Not to
motion.
exceed 3.
I'd like to make that a part of the motion, that 3%.
Is that all right to the motion maker and the seconder?
Yeah, that was the motion that I made in operation.
Okay.
Now,
that okay with you?
Yeah, let me clarify that a little bit. Now,
Yes, sir.
say, for instance, the Chevrolet dealer makes a bid, there's no commission paid.
Right.
This is if somebody on the outside brings somebody in, say, from Knoxville or Jefferson County or somewhere that would want to come here.
Okay.
That's
Or
where
if
it's coming
any private individual or business makes an offer, then there's no commission at all.
Very good. Commissioner Scott.
What's the window for the sale of time frame?
I would like to defer, I think, I talked with the law director, and he said it can be handled in 2 or 3 weeks' notice, and it could be brought back to us at next month's meeting.
Yeah.
I would imagine the law director and the purchase agent will get together and then report back to us.
A shorter window like that doesn't help you on the sale. We can get it out in 2 weeks, but you probably want to see it on the market for at least a month. That's even as short in the real estate
That's
field.
very short.
But I can talk with Catherine. We can turn it around as quickly as you want it. But again, remember, when you shorten that window, the less response you're going to get.
Right.
It takes people, brokers, they need to beat the bushes, need to know what's here. Commercial sales properties, they don't sell like real estate. You have to go to a broker, and the broker knows what's on the market, and he knows the customers that are looking for that particular size or that type of project. So it may take longer a month, but y'all set the parameters and we'll make it work. But it'll take Catherine at least 2 weeks to get it out, get it on the various websites that we need to put it on.
Well, and the reason why I was asking is, as Jay pointed it out, with commercial properties, they're gonna take photographs. A broker would step in and take photographs and specs and so forth to get it out on their site and/or send out emails and.
We've got photos. We got photos ready to go. I think we've got 40-something in and out. We've got all of the surveys, and appraisals, a lot of documentation the mayor's gathered. We'll get full disclosure on everything we've got.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. Any other discussion?
Amendment from me.
Commissioner Yeager.
I'd like to make an amendment to have a 90-day time frame for this sealed bid.
There's an amendment to make it 90 days minimum.
Yes.
Seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Back to the original motion. Any further discussion on the original motion? Everybody understand the original motion? All right, let's go to the board. Or do you, well,
Yeah,
we'll just
go
do the board, which
yeah.
is be easier. Yes is to support the sealed bid as presented by Chairman Isabel through the operation. Hey, all right, 13 yes, 1 no. Motion carries. Commissioner Isabel, any other business from?
That concludes the operations report, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody need to take a break? Let's take a, is that what you said, break?
It's 7:53 right now.
7:53, let's be back in here at 8 PM.
Yep.
You haven't even done. This is amazing. You looking at me, like, come on, Tracy, hurry up. What are you doing, man? What's taking so long? 8:07. We went 7 minutes past. Or actually 3 minutes, I apologize. Depends on what device we look at here.
Me getting ready to shoot Trippy. What's going on over there? What's that?
Well, it has a permit, doesn't it? Technically, no. Okay, we're going to get back to business here. We'll go right into the public hearing report by Vice Chairman Josh Anderson. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a public hearing for the rezoning of property at 1127 Oliver Springs Highway.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second. Have a motion by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Meredith. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes the public hearing report.
Great job, Vice Chairman Anderson. I apologize it took us so long to get down to it. Committee reports, budget report by Mr. Robbie Holbrook.
That's page 7, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, the cash and fund balance report. Restricted funds are at 1.4 million, committed funds at 2,559,000, assigned funds $519,857. Unassigned fund balance is at 4.7 million, for a total fund balance of $8,794,246. And the cash this month is $10,955,193, which is up 2.8 million from last month, from last year at this time.
Yes, sir.
So, any questions?
Good. Thank you, Robbie.
Next, I have the sales tax report, and we had another good November, 3.1 million, up 18%. But I do have some good news that we got our December sales tax in today, and we had a record month, 3.5 million collected, but the county had $538,855, which is almost double what they have seen in the past. So we may be seeing some of the internet sales tax, because this is where it's going to come in through the sales tax. So we're hoping this is a trend, but it was really up this month. So,
thank you, Robbie. Commissioner Isabel, did you have something, sir?
Mr. Chairman, I think that's a record, isn't it?
yes.
All-time record.
Yes, yes. Especially for general fund. The previous high this year was 350,000.
Robbie, can we stop?
Yeah.
And just move on to the next department? I mean, can we just leave it all good?
Yeah. I'm 100%. I'm 100% okay with that.
I'm just kidding. I apologize. Good job, and appreciate you bringing those items to our attention, because.
Yes. Well, we got it today, and when Peyton received it, he came running back to me, goes, we just got like all this money in for general fund. I said, that can't be true. And I even checked with Regina and Janice tonight. I said, are we sure this is correct? Because I don't want to report out if it's not. And so they're assuring me that.
Smiles on people's faces. I like it. Go
All
ahead,
right.
sir. Sorry.
No problem. Next up, I have the EMS report, and on the first page there, you can see that they are, at the end of December, they were at 52% of their revenue and 48.8% of their expenditures. So they're right where they should be.
Okay.
So, moving into the budget amendments. But Group 3 appropriations for the school, there were 2 of them, seeking approval as a group or individually.
This group, please.
Motion for a group by Commissioner Scott, seconded by Commissioner Denenberg.
I meant to second it, but
It's all right. We need to go to the board for this, don't we?
Yes, please.
Robert? To try to hit it again. No, I'm sorry. You're good. Yes, I know that.
You're going to have, let them do a voice. It's going to be a minute.
Here comes Mr. IT to fix. Yes, sir. That's all right.
He's reconnecting.
I think this is going to be a close vote, too.
You think so? I got a feeling we're going to be unanimous, Commissioner
Vote
V.
for him.
Motion passes, 14 yes.
All right, thank you. Group 4, appropriations, non-school, seeking approval as a group or individually, or any you have questions on?
Motion by Commissioner Meredith to approve as a group. Seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any discussion? Let's go to the board. Motion passes unanimous.
All righty, Group 5, transfers, non-school. There was one from preservation of records for $20,000 from a part-time, from the regular pay code to a part-time code.
Motion by Commissioner Jameson to approve, sir. Seconded by Commissioner Meredith. Let's go to the board. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, and the last budget amendment I have is appropriation from the law director, $14,541.48. That affects the unassigned fund balance.
Motion by Commissioner Scott to approve, seconded by Commissioner Jameson. Let's go to the board. I apologize if you had any questions, please stop me. Didn't ask if you had any questions. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, Group 7, miscellaneous. The first action item was a motion by Commissioner Denenberg, seconded by Commissioner Smallridge to accept the budget guidelines, budget calendar, and forms as proposed. A motion by Commissioner Shane Val, seconded by Commissioner Rick Meredith to amend the budget guidelines to require all departments and offices to A, propose expenditure budgets that do not exceed their total budgeted expenditures for the 2019-2020 fiscal year, and B, identify areas for reducing their expenditure budgets by at least 0.5%, and the motion passed.
Need that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Meredith to pass as presented, seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any discussion? Let's go to the, you need a board vote, or can we do that one on voice?
Voice.
Voice or board?
I think voice is fine.
Yeah. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Section B, Fleet Services Manager John Vickery presented the vehicle replacement plan for discussion. No action was taken. Section C, Mayor Frank presented an amended general fund unassigned fund balance policy, increasing the required minimum fund balance to $4.5 million for approval. The motion passed unanimously.
Motion by Commissioner Meredith, seconded by Commissioner Isabel. Any discussion on increasing the undesignated fund balance from $4 million to $4.5 million? Commissioner Scott.
Simply put, at the rate we're going with sales tax, I'd say we're going to be okay.
Any comments?
This is also in the Finance Committee agenda because actually they're the ones that make this policy.
Yes, sir.
The Budget Committee was only recommending it to the Finance Committee, so
Okay.
the voice vote's fine, or you're going
Let's
to.
do a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Did you say aye? Aye. Oh, so, sorry. Make sure I got you.
In Section D, Mayor Frank presented a brief update on the status of the Faith Promise Church property as an option for the senior center. No action was taken. That's all I have for the Budget Committee. Now to the Finance Committee.
Yes, sir.
Again, Mayor Frank presented an amendment to the general fund unassigned fund balance, raising it to $4.5 million. Motion by Phil Yeager, seconded by Terry Frank, to modify the current general fund unassigned fund balance policy by increasing the required minimum fund balance to $4.5 million.
Do we need to
So-
pass?
We did, but it has to come from this.
Motion by Commissioner Meredith, seconded
This is the
by
committee.
Commissioner Scott. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
And the rest of the finance agenda was really consent agenda. It's just discussion.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Holbrook? Robbie, quick question.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just wondering, is your salary the same, or are you getting the?
I'm getting the finance director's
Okay,
salary.
very good. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Robbie? We'll continue on. Thank you, Robbie. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Delinquent tax attorney, Mr. Tino. And Ms. Copeland.
Yes.
Sorry, didn't mean to leave you out, ma'am.
That's all right.
Oh, sure, go ahead, Commissioner Scott.
I
If you'd
just
like
wanted to speak real quick to explain the purpose of my request for these two to step forward this evening. It's for the trustee to explain what the tax freeze process is for people to sign up, et cetera. And for Mr. Trino to explain where things stand at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott.
Did you want me to give the collections for current?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, I thought that's what you also had asked, so I just wanted to make for sure. I don't want to take up more time than, thank you for letting me spend the evening with you, but I know that you don't want to be here till midnight.
We understand you.
So I'll kind of briefly go over the tax freeze. We're still in the middle of the process of signing up, so I don't have hard numbers on what we have right now. I can give you the numbers that we had last year. On the tax freeze, we had about 1,175 signed up on the tax freeze last year. We have had a lot of new people come in and sign up this year. I feel like it's because of our public education. We're really trying to put it out there and let everybody know and make them aware of the program. So we have had a lot of new ones, but at the same time, sometimes you have some that come off of it for one reason or another. So I don't know yet, what that's going to be, but we have had a lot of new signups. In order to qualify, the property owner must be 65 years of age on or before December the 31st, 2019. They must live on the property. They must provide a 2018 income for the applicant and the other owners that's listed, unless they have have put it maybe into their kids' names and they have a lifetime dowry or estate or something like that. And then in that case, they have to bring that in, and show that, and we make a copy of it and send it into the state. The income limit is $41,840 in order to qualify for the freeze. If you meet all of the qualifications, the age and the income, they will freeze your taxes on your house and up to 5 acres. So if they have 10 acres, not all 10 acres are frozen. It's just the house and 5 acres. If they have 15 or more acres and they're already receiving the green belt discount, then they can just freeze the house and 1 acre because they're already receiving the green belt discount. Did you want me to go over the tax relief? That's all the ones that's the qualifications on the tax freeze. And I did want to say that not only does it freeze in case of a tax increase, but like right now we're going through a new assessment year. It freezes that assessment. Unless they have came in and the property assessor finds where they have put on new outbuildings or they've added a garage or something like that to it, then of course that assessment is going to go up. But if everything is the same, it still freezes that amount as to what it was. Say if they froze it, 2 or 3 years ago in this new assessment period, that it wouldn't go up any.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
So when you're saying that you do a tax freeze, it's from this point and then they've got to prove themselves years coming to keep it at this point, correct?
Yes, they have to qualify every year.
Okay, and it'll hold from the first time they're frozen?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So if we have new applicants this year that come in that apply this year and they qualify, their taxes will be frozen at what they are.
Okay.
If we have some that have came in 8 years ago and froze their taxes 8 years ago, their taxes did not increase.
Okay.
When the new tax increase came about, their taxes stayed at what they were as long as they come in every year. If they miss a year and don't come in, then of course they're no longer on it. They start back over again.
What about this year we've increased our taxes?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if next year it goes down?
Well, if it was me and I was on the tax freeze, then I would want mine to come down, so I probably wouldn't come back in and.
But, so the next time that they do come in, it's going to be from next year's taxes, or does it go back to the original number? In other words, what number are they watching to be able to?
It's whenever they come in and they, I don't know about if it going back down.
Okay.
I'm sure that they just wouldn't sign back up because they'd want it to drop.
Okay.
And then we would start it over.
Okay.
From there.
Okay. I've had people ask about the taxes.
Sure. Do you all want an update on the tax relief or?
Quick question, Commissioner Anderson, sorry.
Sure.
Chairman, I think Commissioner Scott kind of got close to what I was going to ask. If the assessment is frozen, and since we can't make revenue off the assessments, and we'll actually lower the effective tax rate, since this is an assessment year, I was going to see how the frozen assessment, if we lower the effective tax rate, how that would affect someone with a tax freeze, but I think
Well,
we
yeah.
kind of covered that.
They can just, not fill it out or start back over, and then it's going to come down. If it's low, if they did it this year.
But they have to do it every year anyway.
Yes.
To stay on there.
They have to do it every year.
Regina, you may have said this, and what's the deadline to file for a tax freeze?
It is from October, like the one that we're in right now, it started October 1st, 2019, and it will go through April the 6th, 2020.
So people can apply all the way up to April?
Yes. And we also are contracted with Oak Ridge City and Clinton City, and we do theirs for them as well when they come in and do that. And then in July, when we do Oak Ridge City taxes, because I don't know if you all are aware, but we help Oak Ridge City at my Oak Ridge office down on Emory Valley. We collect Oak Ridge City taxes there for Oak Ridge. So at that time during their tax period, we also do the tax relief and tax freeze for the Oak Ridge City taxes as well as the county taxes.
As far as the tax freeze, obviously, anybody wants any information, they can contact your office.
Absolutely.
Or go online. I think it's online as well, isn't it?
It's on our website.
On the website.
Yes.
Very
And we're like today, I spoke at the AARP meetings. I've been to both senior centers. I've been on the radio. I've rented a booth and handed out flyers at the fair. We're really trying to, educate social media, everything, trying to educate the public.
Well, and I appreciate that. That's one reason why I thought it was important for you to come up during a county commission meeting, because of the number of people that do watch.
Sure.
And the fact that it's replayed.
Sure.
Next item.
Do you all want tax relief or no? You all just asked for tax freeze, but I have the other if you want it.
I was looking for the educational window.
I've had my 3 minutes. Jerry says
Are you
I've had
okay?
my 3 minutes. I'm done.
You want to hear it, or you're okay?
No, I'm fine. I was looking for the educational.
For the freeze, okay.
Oh, just a second, Virginia. Commissioner Jameson.
Yes, it is 2 different programs. The tax relief is also income-based and disabled homeowners. If you're a disabled homeowner, you don't have to be 65, but you do have to be rated disabled through the Social Security Administration. And it is income-based as well. The income limit on it is $29,860. And also, we have it available for veterans. If they are deemed 100% totally and permanently disabled, there is no income limit on that. The state doesn't require them to provide an income. And I think it's $1,100 they pay toward their taxes. They do. If they come in and their taxes are $2,000, the state will reimburse us. I think it's up to $1,100, and then that veteran would, pay the remaining balance. The other, for the disabled homeowner or the elderly homeowner, that amount is $181, and that doesn't cost the county anything. That is a state-funded program, so they reimburse us. You're welcome. Commissioner Scott had asked for how collections were going on the current taxes. Right now, I have 2 years' worth of taxes in my office. I have the 2018s, which are considered delinquent at this point, and then, of course, we have the 2019s that just went out in October, and they have till the end of February to take care of those. The 2018s, they have till March 25th is the last day they will stay in my office, and then they will be turned over to the delinquent tax attorney and clerk and master at that time. I can tell you we're up 2% in collections. That's where we were last year at this point. The tax roll for we'll go ahead and do 2018's tax roll was $45,365,914. And if I can add, that does change from time to time because we're constantly getting either additions, deletions, changes, or whatever from the property assessor's office. So that does, change a little bit from time to time. So I want you all to know that if you write that down and then you hear it's something else at a later date, then that's why, because we do key in those quite often. So this numbers are as of today. The tax outstanding is $1,377,864.30 is what we still have unpaid, and they have till March the 25th to finish paying that. So we have collected on the 2018s $43,988,049.70. We just sent out today, delinquents on the 2018s. We just sent out delinquent bills, and I think it was a little more than 2,800 bills that we sent out today that we sent out on colored paper and to get their attention, because some of it is that they just do forget. And then we'll also make phone calls between now and March 25th, trying to remind people to get those taken care of so that we don't have to turn those over to clerk and master and the delinquent tax attorney. 2019 tax roll.
Regina,
As
just, I don't mean to interrupt you.
sorry.
Commissioner Denenberg had a question real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for what you're doing. I just wanted to confirm that you are as diligent as you have been on the collection of the delinquent taxes.
I'm trying my best.
I'm sure you are. Thank you very much.
I have a really good staff. I can't take all the credit. The 2019 tax roll is, as of today, $48,087,969.11. We have collected today, as of today, $23,101,191.88. So that leaves us almost $25 million left to collect. They have till the end of February to pay that before. Starting March 1st, they are considered delinquent starting March 1st, and the 1.5% interest will be added to that then.
So anyone listening at home, property taxes are due.
Yes, they are due October 1st when you get them. We
Correct.
just give you till the end of February
The
to pay
grace
them.
period ends on March 1st,
No, February 29th.
February 29th,
Yes, March 1st, they get tacked on with the,
1.5%.
yes. So hopefully,
Commissioner
and
McCamey.
what I was going to say is our collections are up 2% as to where we were last year at this point. So I think some of that has to do with the tax increase. I do feel like we've been really diligent also as well in the office. And, the economy is good right now. So I think all of that plays a factor.
Commissioner McCamey, then I'll come to you, Commissioner Jameson, okay? Commissioner McCamey.
Last year, you said the total taxes were 43 million?
The total tax roll,
Yeah.
45, 365, 914.
2018 was 45,365,914.
So it's up $3 million.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I need to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jameson.
Who sets the fee at 1.5%, that late fee? Do we get the commission do that, or does the state?
No, the state does that, and that is money that doesn't come into the general fund, but the commission, I believe, that goes on that goes to debt services.
When they say it goes another year, do they just add on another 1.5%?
Like the ones that are due, the 2018s, every month, it is recalculated, 1.5% gets added at the first of each month until they go upstairs. Once they go upstairs, then there's a whole lot added to it. Once it goes upstairs, court cost, all kinds of things that go on once it goes upstairs. But starting March 1st, the 1.5%.
Commissioner Val, real quick, is it okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Regina. Appreciate what you're doing. This question may be more for Trippy than it will be for you, or maybe you explained it and I may have missed it. When are we going to have a tax sale?
That is a trippy question. I don't have anything to do with the tax sale. It turns over to clerk and master and the delinquent tax attorney. And when I turn those taxes over to clerk and master, it actually, I'm not even able to see how much the people owe. That money has to be, I have to call the clerk and master to get that. So I don't actually, I can't tell them when to have a tax sale, what to sell, what not to sell.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
So I'm gonna shovel that off on him.
Appreciate it.
Um,
Well, the reason I ask is I've been asked.
Yes, we get phone calls.
Yeah.
I did want to hit on the sales tax too. I was so excited, like Robbie was, when we got that report in, and so I went back and pulled what December of last year was, and we're up almost $1 million from December of last year in our sales tax. And something else I wanted to I forgot to mention. The collections that we're doing right now, I just wanted to reiterate, that's money that you all already budgeted. It's not new money
Right.
coming in. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that.
Thank you.
Sorry, one final question. Have you come up with a program where they can pay by month?
I have. I didn't, that wasn't on my bullet point, so I
Sorry.
didn't.
It wasn't my bullet point, I was just summarizing.
That's okay. That's okay. I'd be glad to share it with you. You all had passed the resolution that I had drew up some months back. It's been a lot of hoops and red tape to jump through, but we are close to getting it done. And the reason that it took us a little longer is we actually have been working with our software vendor because before we were going to have to keep up with it on an Excel spreadsheet. But our software vendor has now put forth a way that when those come in, we can actually go into our system now and put them in immediately. So that we're looking probably at another 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll have all that up and going. And I also talked to Robbie, and he's going to set it up to where the employees can do payroll deduction. Yes.
And I also would like to thank you again for kind of breaking down the bill and showing where some of the percentages go to sheriff, schools, and I think that's been helpful for folks when they pay their bills.
There's been a lot of people that has really appreciated that. We got a lot of phone calls. Everybody just, because it just helps everybody to understand their money actually is going towards something.
Right.
So,
Thank you,
any other
Regina. Well
questions?
done. Any other questions for Regina?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and I will turn it over to Mr. Tino.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I'm going to pass this out. I'll just hand it to you, just grab one. And first of all, I'll jump on your question right now. The notice, you may have seen it in the Clinton Courier, the notice by publication was run. I filed that in November, I believe. It was in the paper December 11th, December 18th, December 25th edition, and the January 1st edition. And 30 days has to run. So on February 3rd, I'm going to be filing the motion for default and order for default. And then after that, I'll be filing a motion for order of reference where the clerk and master will then determine the total amounts for each tax parcel that will be the opening bid. He will determine that, file that with the court. I'll file a motion to have that approved, and then we'll do a motion to sell and order to sell. And then, so I'm looking at, I want to get it done in the spring. Early spring's what I'm looking for.
And Trippy, I yield to your legal expertise on that answer because I know enough about legal procedures to get me in trouble. But, and this is no dim light on you, I'm getting frustrated with how long this process is taking. If it's the court system, it's the court system. I know there's nothing we can do about it. But I do think that we're missing out on some revenue that we need to try to collect. And I know you've been working on this for a while, and I understand, but, so you're talking maybe springtime.
That's springtime, and it is a process because we do have to, we have to be concerned with due process because we're going to be taking someone's property. That's why there is a initial 5-year, in the statute. I mean, it is time consuming, hearings, paperwork, things of that nature, title searches, and it's not a small matter to attach someone's property, to get a judgment against your property and sell it. So that's what we have. That's why we.
And I don't like capitalizing on anyone's ill times. All right, Lord knows my family's been through bad times in the past. But have you had any of these properties that you've already started that legal hearing process on to where the sales could have already taken place, or is this the first opportunity you've had to be able to sell any of them?
This will be the first opportunity I've had to sell them as my tenure as delinquent tax attorney. And if you look at this right here, you can see that I thought I'd better pass these numbers out instead of me sitting here rattling off, six-figure numbers. But if you look at the totals of the last 4 years, the tax years 2014, 15, 16, and 17, the amount that's been turned over as delinquent is the 2.8 million plus down at the bottom. On collections of that, it's over 1.7 million on that, with a balance left of a little over 1 million. So we are collecting on those, and of course with the tax sale coming up, that number, bottom number is going to be greatly reduced. But we are getting people's attention. If you look at the amount turned over, it has steadily decreased, and so I think the trustees' office, the work that they're doing in billing people as of the 2,800 mailings today on pink paper, I mean, that's going to get their attention, and that reduces that amount that is turned over. And that's a very good thing. We're not having to sell someone's property. We're getting their attention that, yes, you own property, you need to pay these taxes. So that's a good number to see that it has steadily decreased in the amount being turned over.
Trippy, let me, Commissioner Scott has a question, then Commissioner Denenberg.
Of the 2014, 15, 16, 17 tax years that are past due, bringing the remaining amount to $1,056,087.68. When you get ready to do the sale of the properties for 2014, are you collecting 2015, 2016, and 2017, or just the 2014 is all you're interested in?
The clerk and master is going to include all of those delinquent taxes. Anything that's past due and delinquent, I think he's going to try to collect those, and that's going to be in his order of reference. He will have each of those tax parcels, and he will come up with the figure that's owed, the penalties that have accrued, such as the 1.5% each month. He'll have all those numbers accrued, and and I think from my talks with him, he's going to collect all of those delinquent taxes for those years if it's one of those chronic properties that has delinquent taxes.
Well, so ideally, if you're doing a sale of the properties that are delinquent for 2014 and all properties have sold, we should be getting $1,056,087.68.
Well, there's some properties that are maybe current on 14 but delinquent on 15s or 16s, things of that nature. They're not all delinquent for those years. So
How can somebody be past due in 2014 and current for 2017?
There are situations I find where somehow or another they were collected. I've had a few of those where they were
Really?
collected for years, for past delinquency. And that's a rarity, but I have seen that.
So ideally speaking, the 2014s should bring in more than $192,000.
It should.
Okay.
Commissioner Denenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Tino, which of the years will be included in the tax sale coming up in the spring?
Coming up will be the 2014s.
Just the 2014?
Just the 2014s. I hope to have a tax sale soon after that. I've already got drafted my orders and everything else to go in and do another one and hopefully include 15, 16, 17s. And as Commissioner Scott said too, I mean, it will, when we collect those on the 2014 sale, it will knock out a lot of those 15, 16s, and 17s. But I do hope to have a sale pretty quick after that. That's my goal.
Do you have any idea as to how quickly you would be able to move forward with the additional tax sale?
It'd be hard to say. Like I said last time I met with you all, you're looking at me. It'd be great to have help.
I'll be glad to help you.
Yeah, I would love it. I would love it. And that's the thing. I'm wearing many hats, and so it is time consuming. And you never know what you're going to get into when you start a title search.
I'm well aware of that fact.
So that's the thing. It's hard for me to predict when it'll be. I mean, I want to get it done quick. On a lot of them, I don't get paid until it's done. So, there's a personal interest too. Believe me, and so I want to get it done. And, that's my goal, to get it done as fast. If you want to come help me, I would welcome it.
Glad to do it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Denenberg. Commissioner Waddell?
Mr. Tino, how long have you been taking care of the delinquent tax sales? How many years now?
How many years? The 14s were the first year that I filed them. So the tax year 14, 15, 16, and 17, I have filed.
So 6 years?
It's been 6-year time period,
Almost six.
calendar-wise. Tax year-wise, there's been.
No.
4.
How many years have you been handling these?
I've been probably about 4 years and something of that nature.
How many tax sales have you had?
None.
Why?
Well, working on the 2014s to get it done.
Everybody else is having tax sales. Anderson County is not.
It depends on, like I said, I would love to have the help. I'm doing the work. If you can come down and see the work that I've generated, it's time consuming. That's why the state laws and the statutes concerning tax sales say, I have 5 years to get that sale in for the 14s. It's time consuming.
Mr. Tino, all I'm going to say is we didn't have this problem before. So I want to know what's taking so long.
If you look back at the years of tax sales, there's been years where it was well more than 5 years before certain years were sold. I beg to differ with you on that. I'm well within the statutes. Like I said, if you want it done quicker, hire me a staff. I mean, I'm being honest with you. I mean, if you look back at some of my timesheets, there were hours I put in 80, 90 hours a week, no sleep, hardly. So, I mean, it's a tough job. It has to be done. And if you want it done quicker, I'd be glad to do it quicker, but I need help.
I'm done.
Thank you, Commissioner Waddell. Any other questions for Mr. Tino? Mr. Tino, did you have anything else you'd like to share?
I believe that's it.
Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the information. Okay, we will now move over to Director of Schools, sir, Dr. Parrott. Sorry for the delay, sir.
That's okay. I did have a report this month because, we were out for 2 weeks and we just got back into, so I just came to answer any questions you might have for me tonight.
Well, if that happens again, stop me before the meeting starts so we can let you go home and you can attend the ball game. I feel bad.
That's fine. Listen, there'll be another ball game. I'd rather be here. That's my job. And I will say this, our attendance is holding steady. Today we're about 61-40. I think we do have a little bit of sickness, but it's not a lot. I think the people that our new machines that we have that spray the cleaner and everything, I think that's really helping. The custodians did all the schools on Monday. They worked on Monday. So I'm excited where we're going. I think I tell everybody, we're not like the commercial. We're not good. We're great.
Yep.
And
I
I hope
agree
to
with
be
that.
that way. And if you have any concerns, please let me know.
And I appreciate you always making them flu shots available for the students. That's a
Yes,
big
yes.
help too, I believe. And has that been a good turnout? The folks?
It has. We just a kind of something we'll have to look at next year. There are some insurance companies out there now that will not pay for a flu shot unless you go in to a doctor's office because they like that copay.
I see.
And so what we've had this year, we have our pharmacies that work really great in partnership with us. We've had to eat some of that cost, but that's fine with us, and we're looking at ways next year to maybe, years ago, we bought our own flu vaccine, and our nurses helped give it. So we may partner with them and maybe try to buy that ourselves next year. But I will say this, there's free flu shots now at the health department, and they work very good with us on helping make sure our kids are vaccinated.
We're about 4 months away from graduation.
It is. It
Hard
will
to
be
believe.
here before you know it.
Yep. Any questions for Dr. Parrott? Thank you, sir, for all you do and your staff and teachers and administration
Thank
and
you.
all the folks.
I will too, if it's okay, can I give an update of the Finance Committee? We have set interviews, the final interviews for the February the 7th We're going to bring those 4 people back in, and we'll be interviewing Robbie at that time, and hopefully we will have some news to tell you one way or the other to make a decision on that, so.
Thank you for that update.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Do what? It is 7th, yes. They will be sending out, Annette will be sending out some things to county commission, and we'll be putting that in the paper. But, yeah, it'll be that Friday. It'll start at 12:30, and we will do the 4 we've had. We're looking at 45 minutes for them to come in and update anything and us to ask any questions. Then the last one we will do Robbie, because we don't know that and might take some more time, so we put him as last.
Thank you, Dr. Parrott.
Okay. Sounds
Have a good evening, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Not unless you need me, I'll stop.
County Mayor, ma'am.
Bones Creek. First item, Mr. Chairman, and good evening,
Good evening.
is approval of a TDEC Education and Outreach Grant Amendment. We've actually finished this grant, but they did want us to amend, and I guess in order to do all the closeout. And we did not have a purchasing meeting this month, so that's why I put it on this agenda, requesting motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Yeager, sir? Yes. Seconded by Commissioner McCamey. Any discussion on the item? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
And then the next 3 requests for motions, this is something we do annually as part of our participation in the state of Tennessee's ECD 3-star program. The 3 motions there outlined on your agenda are the motions I'm requesting. The first, which I did put in your agenda packet, is the debt policy that we have on file. That is on file with the Comptroller's Office. We did modify that in 2016, review those modifications. So I just need a motion that we've reviewed that debt policy at an official meeting.
Okay.
I'll keep my motion.
Yeager, well, push your button again. He's done cleared you. Motion by Commissioner Yeager to approve, seconded by Commissioner McCamey. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next motion is that the county mayor and county commission acknowledge that an annual cash flow forecast must be prepared and submitted to the comptroller prior to issuance of debt. And we do in your annual budget packet, so if you go online or if you have a budget book, cash flows as required are in here for all of the funds. And so we do comply with that, but if I could get a motion acknowledging that.
Motion by Commissioner Yeager, seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next is the county mayor and county commission acknowledge that all county offices are required to have documented system of internal controls.
Have a motion by Commissioner Yeager, seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and the next items on the agenda are approval of resolutions 20-01-797, 798, and 799. These are authorizing, and if we could get separate motions on those. These are authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds, including the refunding of general fund debt, rural elementary debt, and rural high school. And just as a note for commission, the authorized refunding does not extend the term of the debt. And Scott Gibson is here. He's handed out some paperwork. He's here to answer any questions you have. Just real quickly to share with you the net estimated savings. So for general fund, the net estimated savings by doing these refunding, your authorization on this will save the county $561,326. For rural high, the net estimated savings is $788,696. And rural elementary is a smaller amount because the outstanding debt is smaller, but it is a savings of $192,765. So the net estimate, all total for your action on this would be savings on the life of on the same life of this debt is $1,542,787.
Mayor,
So-
just real quick, and I'll get to Commissioner Yeager's question, but 20-1-797, which one is that for?
I did not print
I
those
was looking
off.
myself. Does anybody have it?
We got sheets, I believe, on them. Those are just the bond sheets.
Yeah, it's just information from Scott on it.
Yeah.
I don't see the, is the resolution, is the resolution in the packet? What page?
No, those are not the resolutions.
The resolution should be in the packet.
They were sent to Annette. Leanne sent them
Does
to
anybody
Annette.
see the
I think-
page,
Kim's got them? Okay.
Hey, it is here, Scott. You refer to it, I mean, the resolution itself is not here, but you refer to the number on each document you handed us. So, well, no, that's a TCA code. I apologize.
First resolution is 16 million.
Which one's 8 million?
Here's 797, so that would be the,
I got them. I don't think.
yep.
Which one is 8,015,000?
There, resolution, if you don't mind.
Yes, sure.
Resolution 797 is for a total of 16.1 million. That includes two things. That includes the $8 million for the refinancing, which is laid out in the savings books I pointed out, and the report from the state. One of those reports is for 8 million and some change. That is the general fund. The other 7.8 million is for the ESG project, which was approved. The initial resolution was approved last month at the county commission meeting. Y'all voted to move forward with that, and we passed the initial resolution, published it in the paper, and the 20 days have, for the 20-day protests have gone by. And so we have combined the ESG project and the refunding into one bond issue. So the 797, you will be approving the refunding and the detailed resolution to get the funds to do the ESG project that the county has voted to move forward on. So that is the purpose of the 797 resolution.
Thank you, Scott. Commissioner,
798 is the rural elementary.
798 is the rural elementary. Those,
99 is the rural high.
that is correct.
is the what? Rural?
Rural high school.
Rural high school.
Thank you.
The rural elementary and the rural high school resolutions are for refundings only. There are no new monies. And then all three refundings, we will not be extending the debt. Even though we are combining the new money for the ESG project and the refunding together, I will put it in the, we will break out the amortization schedule so we know exactly to the penny which portion is the refunding piece and which portion is the ESG project, so that y'all can keep track of that internally in your records. And we will also, we can also send that to the state or whoever asked, showing exactly what was saved and no extension of the debt. It's just more cost-effective and efficient if we do it all together.
Commissioner Yeager, do you have a question, sir?
I have a question after we vote on the
Okay.
resolution.
Okay, so, all of this has been through the Finance and Budget Committee. Okay. Any other questions on the motion? Commissioner Creasy?
Could you repeat the three resolution numbers again?
I can. 797 is for 16.1 million. That is for the general obligation bonds, and that is for the refinancing and the general debt service fund, and the new money for the ESG project for the county projects y'all have approved. Resolution 798 is for 1,830,000, is for refinancing only, and that is for the rural elementary school fund. And then resolution 797 is for 7,150,000, that is for the rural high school, refunding only.
799.
Excuse me, I apologize.
It's okay.
799, I misspoke. 799 is the rural high school.
How much?
7,150,000.
And all those together, Scott, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Creasy.
You'll need,
Okay, all of those together, refunding is gonna, projected to save 1.5 million.
the refundings, yes, sir, based on where we are today.
And not extending the.
Not extend the debt.
Okay. Any other questions?
And there's savings reports that I handed out that y'all can look at. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but I wanted y'all to have those. That is the preliminary savings analysis or whatever. It has all three savings in there that the mayor mentioned for each of the funds.
And just to reiterate, this has been through finance and budget.
That
and
is
approved.
correct.
Okay. All right. Any other
My
questions?
motion is for 797.
Your motion is for 797? Okay. And the second is for 797? Sure. Okay. Okay, let's,
You need to go to the.
yeah, let's go to the board. Again, this is for, resolution number 20-1-9, or 797, for 16.1 million, which includes the general obligation and ESG project. Thirteen yes, 1 no. Motion passes. Next,
798 is for the rural elementary school.
Commissioner Meredith, your motion for 798, seconded by Commissioner Yeager. Yes. Any discussion on rural elementary 2-1-798, rural elementary debt refunding? Any questions? Let's go to the board. Motion passes, 14 yes, unanimous.
799 would be the rural high school, 7,150,000.
Motion by Commissioner Yeager to approve, sir.
Yes.
Seconded by Commissioner Mead.
Yes.
Thank you. Any discussion on resolution number 20-1-799, high school refunding, roughly 7.15 million? Any discussion? Let's go to the board. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you for your trust in us, and we'll keep moving forward.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, do you have some other items?
I did have one. I want.
Uh-oh.
It's not serious, though. Can you give me an ESG update of timing and when and where things are going to start?
Well, they're just now sending out contracts to their subcontractors. We did have a meeting in the Jolly Building with various folks where Stanley Prophet, who is the head, I guess, project manager for ESG, talked about establishing a timeline. When we would put that in place, we would be communicating that to everyone. So right now, we're still a ways off.
Okay.
So I think the first thing they're going to be tackling will be some of the things that are going to generate immediate return, which are the ceilings and the lights, because as soon as that happens, then you start seeing the savings. So they're going to do some of that work first. We did meet with the city of Clinton because they maintain, most of the parking around here, so we wanted to make sure that we work with them, make them aware of when we're going to have boxes out there or where they would like to see the storage facility so they don't interrupt, with operations. So we're kind of laying the groundwork in that regard.
Okay, thanks.
Good questions. Thank you, Mayor, for the update. Next is Law Director, sir. Any questions for the Law Director? Jay, I just wanted to, and I know I'm not following the proper procedure here, but I'd like to just add to the minutes if this body will allow me, or if somebody can make the motion. I know that I can't make the motion as the chairman, but I'd like to add the TVA notice and the TVA response to the minutes.
That's a very good idea.
Just, can somebody help? I have a motion by Commissioner Isabel, seconded by Commissioner Mead. Thank you, sir. Any discussions on that?
Tim, do you have a copy of that? I'll get it to you.
Okay, so,
We're still on for the 18th. We've done public notices. It's been in the Clinton Courier, North Bulletin, Oak Ridger, and on ACTV for about 3 weeks now. The new detailed public notice went out today. There's still no fact sheet on the project. We were in contact with TDEC as recently as Friday. When they get the fact sheet, they'll let us know, but we've got a court reporter scheduled. We're moving forward, just as if nothing else has happened, for the 18th. That'll be at 4 o'clock, and from what I understand, several people will want to talk at this public hearing.
okay, and I'll come to you in a minute, Mr. committee, was it?
Mine's on something else
Okay,
after this vote.
okay, thank you. And just to bring the folks in District 1 up to speed, and the county for that matter, this is for the notice of public hearing, which obviously we all had some questions, along with many other questions specifically about the Jackson Law. And I just want to make sure that during this public hearing that TVA is on notice to address the Jackson Law along with the other questions.
Yes, I've sent them a letter, told them, I guess, what was that, December we voted? I sent them a letter shortly thereafter, copied their legal counsel, Mr. Lash, and also TDEC legal counsel, so they're on board. TDEC is well aware of it. I'm sure everybody knows about it at this point.
I'm just going to read the header here. You've already mentioned it, Jay, but this is a notice of public hearing, subject Tennessee Valley Authority, proposed new landfill application permit, IDL, number 01-0220, Bull Run Fossil Fuel Plant. The meeting will be held here in room 312 of Anderson County Courthouse, located at 100 North Main Street, Clinton, Tennessee, 37716. And again, the time will be at 4 p.m. on February 18th, 2020, to discuss these items with TVA along the other. Citizens are encouraged, as you've already mentioned, to come and make their questions known in writing. They can certainly do it verbally as well at this public hearing.
Yes, Brian has set us up a dedicated email address there. You might want to read that, Mr. Chairman. TVA permit.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's for anybody that can't come or wishes to send written comments in ahead of time. We'll put those in the record.
Excellent.
I didn't realize the extent of this project. It's a 60-acre new landfill. And you can see there's several million cubic yards of CCR.
So that email address, and thank you for pointing that out, Jay. The email address for those who would like to email their questions, comments, or concerns can go to TVA Permit, P-E-R-M-I-T, TVA Permit at aclawdirector.com. That's TVA Permit at aclawdirector.com. Or you can call 457-6290.
We'll give them all the information we have, but we're hopeful of a fact sheet from TDEC here in the next week or so.
And will we also have present with us, I guess, this resolution 19-11-786, which we passed some time ago, which was the adoption of the other parts of the Jackson Law. I believe we did it in August 20th. Actually, that was the first Jackson Law we adopted, August 20th, 2012, but then we adopted this one.
That was our, we
Yeah.
actually did one years ago, then we updated it, and then we just recently updated it again in December.
Yes, 18th day of November, yes.
November.
That's resolution 19-11-786. Okay, any other questions on this?
Okay.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And thanks for your work on this, Jay.
No problem. Any other questions?
And Commissioner Denenberg, and for all of those helping.
Thank you.
I
Have a good
think
evening.
Commissioner McCamey has a question on another item.
You touched on the barn on Mulholland Road. Can you tell me when we expect to hear from your motion that you filed to dismiss their lawsuit against us?
It's Art Knight's motion. Remember, we went outside and hired Art Knight, and last he told me, week before last, he was setting it. He was having a hard time getting the other attorney to agree on dates, but I'll contact him tomorrow and see if he's got a date on that. But Art filed his motion 6 weeks, 2 months ago. It's been a long time he filed his motion to dismiss.
I know the people keep asking me about it, and I tell them it's in litigation, and there's nothing really that we can do at this point. But they're.
There is no events going on right now.
Well, there is some, but.
Is there?
Yeah, they're still having some events down there. Not as much with the noise, but they are still having some events. Even though the guy had put on social media that he was leaving the county and forgetting all about it.
Are they wedding events?
I'm not sure what kind. I've been told.
I don't think his attorney is aware of that.
But like I say, it's been so long, and I've been telling them that,
It's been a very frustrating situation.
It's in litigation, and hope to hear something soon. But
I understand all the neighbors down there. it'd be frustrating to me if I lived there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you, Commissioner Kamey. We already voted on that last item, right? As far as the TVA notice and, yeah, we did a verbal vote. I just want to make sure you guys got that back there. Okay. Okay. Commissioner Creasy, did you have something?
And I requested to speak on that.
I apologize.
Yeah, that's all right. You may have read Ben Pound's article this morning in the Oak Ridger about the TVA coal ash, and many of the Oak Ridgers are looking very positive at your leadership and how you're handling this. And I've received a lot of good comments about that, and I want to compliment both you and Catherine Denenberg for the leadership you both have shown in this particular issue. And many of the Oak Ridgers are recognizing that and look to you and Catherine to lead the way.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy. We appreciate it.
I concur. The other thing, Commissioner Creasy and any of our commissioners from Oak Ridge, once we invoked our rights to the public hearing, Oak Ridge, of course, they're within 1 mile. They have that opportunity for the public hearing also. So the city does have the opportunity for a public hearing also.
As part of the Jackson Law.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you,
your time.
Jay. Thank you for the comments, Jerry. Commissioner Denenberg?
Well, I just wanted to add that I have had a lot of communication with members of council, the city council in Oak Ridge, and they are behind us 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, they will be there to stand with us regarding TVA cleaning up Bull Run.
I appreciate those comments, and I think together, sending the message to TVA that we're all together is very important. It's not the county having control or the city having control. It's us having control as a community and a county, and this impacts us for a long time. And if that landfill was to go in for the next 50, 60 years, there's no exit plan on what's going to happen, and that's what concerns constituents in my district.
I may be having a senior moment, which isn't anything unusual. But do I recall correctly, there was a meeting that city council had, and it's been about 2 years ago now,
Yes,
where they pulled TVA in,
yes.
and they were the ones who started the dialogue, questioning why they were asking for a permit
That is
for a
correct.
new landfill.
That is correct.
Yes, I thank you very much. I
No,
just
I
wanted
appreciate it.
confirmation that.
Yes. That's where I learned about it, attending the meeting, yes.
Right, we were.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, Jay, thank you. Any other comments, questions for Jay? All right, we'll move on. We've already done the Operations Committee report, Legislative Committee report. Chairman Mead.
Yes, thank you. There were 2 items that were discussed in the legislative committee meeting. One was only just a discussion. There's a problem with some of the laws that came into effect on January 1st. Specifically, the very same activity in one law is no crime, and the other one is a felony with no defense at all. And it has to do with a handgun carry permit holder walking through a park and coming across an athletic field being used by a school for an activity. The 1311 law, the one that talks about parks and all that stuff, says that if you become aware or should have known or are notified that there's an event going on, if you immediately leave, you're in compliance with the law. The 1309 law, which is the school laws involving weapons and stuff, okay, did not give any credit to the people that have the new carry permits that became effective on 1 January. And so that person with a permit walking in the same park doing the very same thing, if they came across that, they would be guilty of a felony with no defense. And so John Reagan has already agreed to submit a bill so that the 1309 will agree with 1311 so the laws are consistent and doesn't result in a felony trap because there's no requirement for any kind of posting or anything for those activities. I don't have any problem with school stuff being prohibited with firearms by private citizens. And most people I know, no matter how pro-gun they are, have no problem with that. But the law needs to be consistent. The other thing was Resolution 2001-796, which has been went before the legislative committee, was passed unanimously to be forwarded to recommending to the full commission. And what this is you may recall some months ago, the mayor asked if we could do something about seeing if the county could have more control over the regulation of arms by the county employees and stuff. The full commission asked me to look into this and see what we can do. What I discovered, somewhat to some people's surprise, is that the state of Tennessee gives local governments are expressly authorized to regulate the carrying of arms of its employees and contractors. I talked with Steve Austin, who's an attorney at CTAS. He said, hey, look, that's what it says. And the only exception to our authority is a law, 3917-1313, which is a state law that says that if you have a gun securely stored in your car or vehicle in a parking lot, and it's locked up and